Hello, everyone. It's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to the craziest and probably most ridiculous video I've ever made. A Pyramid of Light novel exists, an official novel that was only ever released in Japan. I believe it was released in 2004. A lot of people don't even know that this novel exists. Not only have I found the novel, I am going to read it. I am not a voice actor, so I'm going to do the best I can to give characters certain voices, because if I don't, it'll just be very boring and monotone. We're going to try to bring some life to it. The novel does give a little bit of added backstory to Anubis and does differ from the movie very, very minorly, so it's interesting in that regard. But yeah, if you don't have anything to do for the next couple of hours, put it on in the background, laugh at my bad voice acting. I don't know. This is the unofficial Pyramid of Light novel audiobook. I hope you guys enjoy. The blue shine from the fluorescent lamps waver on the water surface like glowworms. In the school pool at night, Joey Wheeler searched the bottom while still in his uniform, getting himself soaked. His eyes, as they look under the water, are bright with earnestness. That very day, with the intention of teasing a small, shy, and withdraw game maniac classmate, Joey threw a piece of his jigsaw puzzle into the pool. However, the boy stood in the way of the toughest kid in school, who even racked Joey in fear. He called Joey, who was felled and beat up all over, his friend, and tried to protect him. His classmate's name was Yugioh. Joey had realized, I didn't just throw the piece into the pool, it was a piece of his, Yugi's, heart. Yugi called me his friend, and yet I threw a piece of his heart and hid it in the pool. I'm such a pathetic human being. Yugi had taught him about the plight of his heart, which he had forgotten about. I have to look for it. I have to look for that piece. As soon as Joey meant that from the bottom of his heart, the puzzle piece glinted sharply amidst the thick underwater darkness. That being the Eye of Wijat, located at the center of the reverse pyramid, the Millennium Puzzle, and Wijat being the Eye of the Horus, god of the heavens. It is said that it holds the meaning of being a something good, and one of the only charm fit to guard over the kings. Got it! I got it! Once Joey gripped tightly to that puzzle piece of the eye of an ancient Egyptian god, a something good came about in his heart. The first floor of Grandpa Moto's house in Domino City is a game shop, with the second floor being its living quarters. Once a group of ominous clouds cluster and swirl around the skies above Grandpa Moto's game shop, the air gets clammy and grave, and an evil presence began to fill the area. Clank, clank, clank. In a child's room on the second floor, Yugioh was feverishly assembling the Millennium Puzzle without any concern to the signs outside. 8 years ago, he was told that the puzzle he received from his grandfather would grant a wish once it's complete. The memos analyzing the puzzle, which litter the entire room, make it apparent that it has been an uphill struggle over the past years. What you can see yet have never seen. Yugi repeated like it was a spell. It's the puzzle. Yugi stops moving his hand and scratches his head out of shape. Yugi looked through the memos he had on the wall, and the memos scattered about for one of them and rechecked it. You can see it, but since it hasn't been completed yet, you have no idea of what it's going to look like done. Something came into Yugi's head as he was looking at the memo and pondering. That's it! I got it now! He starts to fiddle with the Millennium Puzzle with a clatter more. Pieces he thought would never fit for all this time were gradually taking form. The Millennium Puzzle, readily being assembled, released a creeping and suspicious form of plasma from it. As soon as he assembled all the pieces he had on hand, the concealed figure of the three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle finally showed itself as an upside-down pyramid and shined an eerie golden color. The Millennium Puzzle, unsolvable to any and all over the span of several millennia, was taking shape for the first time ever. Only the yet-to-be-inserted last piece in the center of the pyramid leaves the gaping black hole in it open. It's done. As soon as I fit the last piece in, it'll be complete. Yugi had extended his trembling fingers to the chest modeled in the likeness of a tabernacle which held the puzzle pieces. However, the tips of his fingers search all four corners of the cold chest. Gone! The last piece is gone. No way! I must have dropped it somewhere. Yugi, besides himself, foraged through the entire room. The ominous clouds swirl in the skies above. Joey stood outside of Grandpa Moto's game shop, soaking wet. As he looked up at the lights in the window, Joey's body may have been cold, but there was a faint bit of warmth within his heart. He gently opened his clasped fist, and there was the Eye of Yugioh piece of the Millennium Puzzle he had carefully brought back from the pool, but he was hesitant about ringing the doorbell. As if someone knew that Joey was standing there, the door opened from the inside with a click. Behind the door, a small old man with bulging eyes was smiling with raised lips. "You must be Yugi's friend." Looking past his movie alien-like face, there was kindness in the old man's tone. The Millennium Puzzle, missing only its Yugioh eye piece, rests all alone on the desk in Yugi's room. In front of it, Yugi was sitting with his head bent down. For that single moment, even Yugi's spiky and pointed hairstyle looked like it was drooping. I'll never, ever be able to complete the puzzle. None of my wishes will get through. Yugi finally put his head on his desk and started to cry. It was exactly then that the door placed directly behind his desk opened with a slow creak. There, behind him, stood Grandpa Moto with his arms folded. "Oh ho, this is incredible. You've completed the puzzle." "No, I wasn't able to do it after all, Grandpa." "I'm sure your wish will come true." In the palm, Grandpa Moto's outstretched hand laid the Yugioh eye. Ah, Yugi had forgotten to wipe his tear-stained eyes. "Grandpa, where was it at?" "A friend of yours just dropped by the shop. I was asked to give it back to you. For some reason, his clothes were wet, even though it hadn't rained." "Huh, a friend? Did they really say they were my friend?" Yugi asked dubiously, since he thought he didn't have any friends. "I believe he said his name was Jinochi or something. Once he handed me that puzzle piece, his face took a sign of relief and he took off. I even called out to him about coming inside." "Joey called me his friend?" Yugi muttered with a confused look on his face. "Good night, Yugi." "Thank you. Good night, Grandpa." Grandpa Moto shut the door behind him with a thud. "I can't believe he actually completed it. However, those who complete the Millennium Puzzle become ruler of dark powers. Perhaps I've placed too heavy of a fate on his shoulders." Grandpa Moto muttered with a complex look on his face as he went down the stairs. In his room, Yugi was oblivious to the concerns Grandpa Moto had. "I'm finally going to complete the puzzle." The tips of his fingers spontaneously trembled from his seething excitement, setting the final piece, the Eye of Yugioh, into place with a click. The upside-down shaped Millennium Puzzle was finished. "I did it! It's complete!" Yugi put the chain of the Millennium Puzzle around his neck and held the true metallic form of the upside-down pyramid in both of his hands. "Oh, Millennium Puzzle, hear my wish. I want a friend, a best friend, who has bonds strong enough to tie both our hearts together." His heart racing, Yugi waits for the Millennium Puzzle to grant him his wish. As soon as the puzzle in his hands got warm, the entire Millennium Puzzle shined with a sharp chime. "Did my wish reach you?" In that next instant, the entire room is hit with rumbling vibrations. What? An evil force gushed forth from the Millennium Puzzle. Within a split second, the black mist assumed the form of different kinds of dark demonic beasts. The demonic beasts fly around and about the room. Wah! When fear racked Yugi's mind, the Eye of Yugioh shined with a ping. A uniform mark formed on Yugi's forehead to respond to the shine of the Eye of Yugioh. When the kind Yugi was engulfed by light, a different person emerged to coincide with him at the same time. He is the soul of the Egyptian pharaoh locked within the Millennium Puzzle, the ruler of darkness. The other personality, also better referred to as the Yugi of darkness, had taken control of Yugi's consciousness. The demonic beasts circled around and about the room and spread open their jaws with a cackle, scouting for their chance to feast on the Dark Yugi. The Dark Yugi watched the demonic beasts with resolve. "Silence, demonic beasts!" Once Yugi's voice echoed throughout the room, the evil spirits scampering about were drawn into the Millennium Puzzle. In the completely silent room, Dark Yugi stared at his own reflection off the window's glass and tilted his head in mystery. The soul of the nameless pharaoh checked how he looked reborn in the world of living for the first time. "Who are you?" "I'm Yugi Moto." "Who am I?" "I don't even know that myself." Chapter 1. The Omen. Are you familiar with the game known as Duel Monsters? Competitors referred to as duelists ready a stack of 40 or more cards referred to as a deck. A deck is chosen from the countless number of cards that exist to assure victory. Battle alternates with the opponent. Turn sequence players take turns and draw cards from their deck and adds it to their hand. A player then, taking their turn, can summon monsters, activate spells, and set traps. And of course, they can also wage battle with their opponent. Reducing your opponent's life points while protecting your own are the fundamentals of battle. If you summon a monster stronger than your opponent's, their monster is nothing to fear. However, monsters have attributes and effects, so if you pick just strong cards and their numerical values called attack and defense points, that doesn't make your deck strong. By using these cards in combination, you can create powerful effects not possible with a single card. This is a combo. Combos created by the unity of cards together, a duelist's knowledge, and luck are important elements in a duel. Commanding various kinds of monsters, spell, and trap cards, defeating enemy monsters, and reducing your opponent's life points to 0 is what a Duel Monsters battle is all about. Currently, a single king has been born from the Duel Monsters world. He is Yugioh. First, he defeated the father of Duel Monsters, Pegasus J. Crawford. Next, in Battle City, he beat the best in the world that were there. His eternal rival, Seto Kaiba, and an assassin from darkness, Marek Ishtar, and became Duel King. And then the 3 god cards, which all duelists aspire for, were all with Yugi. In an era of information, this fact was distributed across the entire world. The name Yugimoto became the object of both envy and jealousy of duelists all over the world practically overnight. But the one who is the most unaware of this might be Yugimoto himself. By contrast, the one most aware of that occurrence at the time was Yugi's eternal rival, Seto Kaiba. The Kaiba Corporation main headquarters, a towering skyscraper in Domino City. In one of its rooms, Kaiba and Yugi face one another with stern expressions on their faces, equipped with the wing-like dual disc systems on their left arms. The monitor displays the life points, as Kaiba with 1,300 and Yugi with 2,200. The Blue Eyes White Dragon is on Kaiba's field, while the 3 mythic gods, Slifer the Sky Dragon, the Winged Dragon of Ra, and Obelisk, have been gathered on Yugi's field. It's my turn. Kaiba draws a card from his deck to find it as fusion. There cannot be creation without destruction. I will destroy the 3 mythic gods and forge new history. I activate the fusion card from my hand. The 3 emerged Blue Eyes White Dragons swirled together and fused themselves into a single monster. Letting out its cry, the 3-headed dragon, the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, appeared. Multi-headed dragons, without even mentioning the 8-headed Yamato no Orochi, are harbingers of misfortune. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon and the equipment magic, Giant Growth. Its attack power will double. Ultimate's parameters instantly rose to 9,000. Now, Ultimate, surpass your gods. God of Obelisk, show him your true ultimate power. Yugi, taking a long look at the skies above, called in a loud voice. Kaiba looks on dubiously and says, "What?" The God of Obelisk on Yugi's field spread both of its bulky arms out and saddles the Winged Dragon of Ra and Slifer the Sky Dragon on either side. Obelisk absorbs Ra and Slifer, both of which turn into collective masses of light. Soul Energy Max. By sacrificing 2 of my gods, Obelisk has now attained infinite power. What? Are you telling me that your god sacrificed your other gods? Feel my mighty blow. God Hand Impact. What? Super Ultimate Burst. Broom. The 2 energies collide with one another. The god of Obelisk's infinite power overpowers Ultimate Dragon's burst. When Ultimate Dragon let out its last throws, gray scan lines ran through the air. Even Kaiba and Dark Yugi distorted as everything disappeared in a white light. All of it was virtual reality made by the Solid Vision system. The computer controlling the system strikes off sparks. The engineers make adjustments in a mad rush as the monitor displays the results of the simulation. Power, defense, offense, balance, speed, power. Yugi dominated in terms of deck power. What is this? From our calculations, Ultimate's destructive power should have prevailed over the 3 gods, one of the engineers said in confusion. I'm positive we can beat the 3 gods in the next simulation. How dare you fail in your analysis of the god cards and then run a simulation? Scram! I don't want to see any of your faces. The engineers were frightened by Kaiba's threatening demeanor. Master Kaiba, please give us just one more chance. There was only one thing true in that farce you all created, and that was only that the future cannot be created unless the past is destroyed. There cannot be a future unless those 3 god cards are surpassed. Kaiba, with a furious expression on his face, left the system room. My deck as it is can't come close to the power of Yugi's deck, but I'm sure there has to be a guard to fill the gap in power. Yugi and his 3 god cards were locked in Kaiba's mind. It seemed he didn't even catch sight of Mokuba, who stared at his older brother right by his side. The continent of North America, where the Pacific Ocean is sandwiched between Domino City, is still shrouded with the darkness of the night. A white villa on a lake where Himalayan cedars grow thick was shining in the moonlight. It is the villa of the company head of Industrial Illusions. Only Industrial Illusions can release official Duel Monster cards. Kaiba Corp is permitted to the division which deals with scanning the information on the 1C chips embedded in dueling cards and projecting their image. Pegasus was once an art student. When his lover died by an illness, he headed to Egypt in chase of the legends which say that the meeting of deceased is possible. It is there that he obtained the Millennium Eye, one of the Millennium items. By deciphering the magic words kept hidden in Duel Monsters and converting them into 1C chips, Pegasus made an enormous fortune. Though, if you gain something of much, you will, of course, lose something as well. The Millennium Eye sees everything with its magic power. After obtaining it in Egypt, Pegasus's left eye has been gleaming eerily. However, in Duelist Kingdom, Yami Bakura stole the Millennium Eye. It was a point in time where it was unknown if he was alive or dead. The fact is that he had trifled with dark powers, was robbed of his strength, and lingered on the verge of death. However, recovering his health with intensive care by the latest medical teams, he immediately worked on releasing new cards. Even the peerless game designer had tried to surpass the 3 Egyptian gods and reclaim the title of Duel King. The deep forest surrounding the villa was silent. In his luxuriously constructed medieval European bedroom soaked with blue moonlight, the prince of the world of tunes lay asleep on silk bedding peacefully. The lace curtains hanging down from the canopy bed swayed gently. There was an ominous air about. The presence of someone came gradually closer to the bed. A shadow was cast over top the sleeping Pegasus' head. It appeared to be an ancient Egyptian priest, bare from the waist up, wearing a headdress on his long hair. Both of his giant hands seized Pegasus's fair-haired, caped head. Ugh. Pegasus groaned unconsciously. The thought of the ancient entered the sleeping Pegasus' brain. The winged dragon of Ra, Slifer the sky dragon, and Obelisk. In front of Pegasus's gaze, the 3 mythic gods were afloat, ruling the sky. Oh, excellent, beautiful, unbelievable. I have never seen beauty so divine. A scoffing laugh could be heard from somewhere. It was obviously making light of the gods. Who is laughing at the grandeur of the gods? So there are the 3 sacred beasts that reign over the world of darkness and who can be used by the king of darkness. They will eventually have to grovel before the light of truth. The time when the 3 Egyptian gods are defeated shall come in the not-so-distant future. Rest assured. Pegasus felt his guts churning with a sense of reality unlike any kind of dream. Thousands of particles of light clustered together to create an irradiant pyramid which captured the 3 Egyptian gods. That is where the dream faded away. That same dream again. What in the world could it be alluding to? Pegasus's entire body is drenched with a cold sweat. Flinging off his pajamas to expose his naked white body, he took a hot shower. As long as the 3 god cards, the mightiest of all god cards, exist, Yugi's title as Duel King will probably never budge. So that's why I developed cards to surpass the god cards since Duelist Kingdom. Duel Monsters cards aren't things that can be developed on a whim. There exists basis-forming text, discovered from ancient runes, in the monsters which make their home in the cards. New cards, or even yet, the cards with the ability to oppose the 3 god cards, cannot be created in a day. The Blue Eyes White Dragon is the only card with enough potential. There are only 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons left in the world, and they are with Kaiba Boy. With that in mind, I developed a card evolved on the text of Blue Eyes White Dragon. However, one new card cannot defeat the mythic gods. Another card is needed. That's probably why I had that dream. But what was that pyramid filled with light? Maybe it's my brain trying to spark new imaginative ideas. No, it seems almost as an implication of something much more terrifying. Now that I've lost my Millennium Eye, I cannot see out anything more than I can now. With all the hot showers he took, he couldn't wash away the sense of foreboding he had from him. There are originally 4 Blue Eyes White Dragon cards in the world. Yugimoto's grandfather had one of them. However, it was torn up with Seto Kaiba's own hands. Kaiba tracked down the remaining 3 cards using the Kaiba Corporation network and his financial power. However, since no one would relinquish their priceless cards, Kaiba had to even resort to criminal acts to obtain the Blue Eyes White Dragons. Kaiba has had a connection between himself and the Blue Eyes White Dragon. The reason behind this traces back to the times before Kaiba's reincarnation, when he was pre-Seto. Although, he has an extreme hate of the occult and doesn't believe in anything unscientific. Kaiba himself has never told about his connection with the Blue Eyes White Dragon, but his heart displays itself in a different form. The catapult door atop the Kaiba Corporation rooftop opened. Kaiba's jet, which surfaced from it, was an exact replica of a Blue Eyes White Dragon. In the cockpit, Kaiba grasped the control stick in a practiced manner. The Blue Eyes White Dragon spurted pale flames from its boosters and took off. Switching over to autopilot, Kaiba indulged himself in meditation. I want to give my Blue Eyes White Dragon the power to surpass the 3 Egyptian gods. Kaiba's mindset of surpassing the 3 gods had bared a resemblance to Pegasus. Still, even though I have the capability and the power of Kaiba Corporation, I can't develop new cards. I don't believe in the myths that say cards can't be developed without ancient magic or powers. The contents of his black box-based 1C chips are still a secret. That man holds the secret of the development of duel monsters in his hands. I'm going to have to meet with that man in order to have a new card developed. Far below, the Pacific Ocean was reflecting sunlight. A sonic boom blared, breaking the winds and the tweeting of small birds. The jet made a nosedive for a section of the White Villa. At that time, Pegasus was by his pool, elegantly sipping wine. Not even a few minutes passed before the figure of a young man emerged from the thicket of Himalayan cedars. Pegasus, standing up, addressed his ambivalent visitor. "Kaiba boy, it's been too long." "I don't need any of your hellos, Pegasus," Kaiba spat. "You created 3 dueling cards that have the power of gods, but it's destined that those at the very top can become overcome sooner or later. This is how history has been weaved." "What? Did you come here to lecture me, a Westerner, on history? Maybe the rise and fall of the Roman Empire? Or maybe you'll teach me about the downfall of Napoleon?" Pegasus's single eye fixed on Kaiba's features, which were quite chiseled for an Oriental. "I guess you know then. If you intend on playing dumb, let's just cut straight through to the point. Pegasus, there isn't any way that a duelist of your caliber wouldn't prepare a card that can surpass the gods." "If that's the case, we have nothing to discuss. Run along now, Kaiba boy." "So I was right. It's already completed." Pegasus shook his head, regarding it as nonsense. "Oh no, I'm retired from the forefront." Pegasus suddenly transferred his gaze from Kaiba to the beautiful environment. The surface of the lake reflected the beautiful forest. "It's almost like your heart rises to the surface whenever you're here. I feel ridiculous having spent half of my life in obsessive pursuit of something, Kaiba boy. What is your motivation? Your goal in life shouldn't be just to become Duel King." I didn't cross the Pacific here to talk about that. Our information network encompasses the world. There's no use trying to give me the runaround." Pegasus looked at the eyes of the boy from the east once more. The eyes, deep with a color filled with ambition, were sharp, as if they were seeing through to the back of his mind. Pegasus gave up the song and dance. "The card does indeed exist, but I simply can't give it to you now." "What?" "A befitting heart is needed to handle power. Power without heart gives birth to tragedy." Pegasus stroked his fair hair up with the slightest hesitation and showed the hidden half of his face to Kaiba. Ugh. Kaiba took a gasp. The gaping opening in his eye socket was an unsightly reminder of where one of the Millennium items, the Millennium Eye, had once fit into. "I first went in hunt for the Millennium items with the desires of meeting my long-lost lover. It was an act of folly brought on by my innocence, which was shameful, even to me. Before long, controlled by the Millennium Eye, I sought dark powers. It was no doubt a part of my feeble spirit. Therefore, to serve a lesson to myself, I won't put in an artificial eye or hide this unsightly scar." Pegasus smiled self-mockingly. "This is what those who abuse power eventually look like in the end, Kaiba boy. You only want power, and that is extremely dangerous." Kaiba laughed softly. "Pegasus, I can't believe someone like you believes in that myth. It's on part of your own foolishness that made you look like that. As you yourself admit, the weakness of your heart is to blame. Pegasus was listening without refute. I am indeed a cold man, but it's not because I don't have a heart. It's because I have a heart stronger than the rest of the crowd, especially one that's strong as a duelist. Is that so? Didn't you lose to Yugimoto? Is that the 3 Egyptian god cards' fault? Oh no, maybe it's because of Yugi's skills. Oh no, what you lack when it comes to Yugi is that you have a heart of a duelist who is merely convinced he is strong. Are you telling me I don't have a heart as a duelist? Kaiba's almond eyes shined unmercifully. Then make sure of it with a duel. Kaiba pulled his 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon cards out from his deck case. A duel using the ante-rules. I'll ante up these cards, the cards that are my very life. Oh, your 3 Blue Eyes? It was obvious that Pegasus caught word of Kaiba went through any kind of risk to collect his 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons. Are you willing to go that far, Kaiba boy? Fine, then I accept the duel using the ante-rules. However, the outcome is clear. You and me, allow me to make you remember that not one thing has changed in the balance between our powers since Duelist Kingdom. Kaiba's boorish challenge damaged his pride as the creator of duel monsters. Angry ripples formed on the lake's tranquil surface, a flame was ignited in Pegasus's heart as a duelist, and he forgot about the ominous dream last night. If he had known his dream was an omen of a destructive future, Pegasus would have given up on the duel. The afternoon light flows into the dry area's clerestory on a slant. The basement, whether it has gone unused for a long while, smelled of moist mildew. Placed in the middle of the room was an old duel ring measuring 7 meters on each side. Switching on the power, the ring filled with the light of the 7 prismatic colors. Both Kaiba and Pegasus took their sides on the opposition. We will use the duel ring for the duel. The system is pretty antique, but it'll do. Where is that new card you created to go up against the 3 god cards? I already told you that I won't be deceived by my opponents. That's no problem. A section of the floor splits open and the steel table rises up from it. The Durlamin steel case atop the table lets off a dull luster. The newly developed cards are in that case. Defeat me and take them. You don't need to state the obvious. Both Pegasus and Kaiba shout duel at the same time. It's my turn. Draw. Pegasus looked at his drawn card and put on a grin. I'm going to make you remember the terror of our battle at Duelist Kingdom. I activate a spell card from my hand by paying 1,000 life points. Pegasus's life points reduced by 1,000 to 3,000. Kaiba was able to guess what that meant without having to hear Pegasus's declaration. Toon World! A thick comic book appeared in the space in front of Pegasus, and a cartoonish Toon City popped from it. A bizarre laugh emitted from the book. There were none that didn't know that Pegasus's Toon deck was his old standby. Imbecile. Setting when I participated in Duelist Kingdom aside, time is moving by the moment, letting me develop even more. Kaiba stares, unshaken and undaunted. You haven't made any progress and cling on to the past, just like this old duel ring. Our battle is over after all. Kaiba's remarks had dyed Pegasus's white skin red with anger. I summon Toon Gemini Elf in attack mode. I also set a trap and end my turn. Kaiba boy, how far can you keep up your bluff? Still, there's not an adversary in the world that can defeat me as long as I pull him into my specialty patterns. Pegasus was already certain of his victory. I summon X-Head Cannon, Kaiba declared and played a card from his hand. The holograms of the outdated early type duel ring emanated an unsteady shine as it projects the monster. A levitating mecha with giant cannons equipped to both of its shoulders appeared, flickering with scan lines. With Pegasus using his tunes, the duel had turned back toward his favor. Kaiba's life points, having received a direct attack by Gemini Elf, dropped from 4,000 to 1,000 in one whack. In the middle of it, Kaiba fought back with attack guidance armor, but Pegasus's assault didn't halt. Taking off 500 of my life points, I can normal summon a different monster. From Blood Compensation's effect, I offer Toon Gemini Elf as a sacrifice to summon Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. And of course, it's a level 8, but Cost Down's effect treats it as a level 6 monster, so a single sacrifice suffices. He continued on. Also, I summon Toon Demon. I don't need to explain, but since Cost Down's effect makes level 6 monsters level 4s, sacrifices aren't needed for its summoning. Pegasus's life points from using Blood Compensation's effect drops to 1,900. However, he was far from dispirited, and his tensions were running high. I hadn't realized that I've gotten immersed in this duel. Pegasus looks at his own monsters with satisfaction. My ace tunes are here in full force. The game is all set. Do you see now? I'll let you keep your blue eyes, but pack up your cards and hurry along back home. However, while being outmuscled duel-wise, Kaiba stood firm. You don't make any progress at all. A duelist is someone who always looks to the future and makes their way forward. Dwelling upon past glory is the epitome of stupidity. What? Dueling is an art where the imagination of duelists look to the future, and the people who cling to things as lame as their past tactics don't even deserve to be called duelists. Pegasus, who was pretending to be calm and ignoring what was being said, was at his final straw, and it had been broken. How dare you show disrespect to me, the creator of duel monsters? You may have created superb electronics and an outstanding virtual system, but you can't understand the true essence of a duel. He had let out the emotions he had kept pent up inside of him all at once. Kaiba ignored the outburst and grinned. At this very moment, the two situations had changed. I'm going to show you a duel that transcends logic. My turn. Kaiba drew Black Core from his deck. I activate a spell card, Black Core. With a shine of purple flash, the pitch darkness suddenly opened up a gaping opening in space. Black Core, that is a card that removes one monster on the field from the game by discarding a card from your hand, and Kaiba Boy is after. Pegasus took another look at his field, and his eyes stop on Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. It has to be the one with the highest attack power. No, it's the one Kaiba Boy most cherishes. Blue Eyes. You fool. That would mean being confined to common logic, Kaiba snapped. I discard Y Dragon Head from my hand into the grave to remove X Head Cannon from the game. Removing your own monster from the game? What are you planning on doing? Next, the spell card, Soul Release. This card's effect will remove the Y Dragon Head in my cemetery from the grave. Removing your X and Y monsters, I summon a monster, Z-Metal Caterpillar. The mechanical monster Z-Metal Caterpillar appeared on the field. And now Z, you couldn't be. Destroying the past to create the future. To a dweller of the past, the future must be an unthinkable series of events. I pay half of my life points to activate Return from the Different Dimension to my field. Kaiba's life points reduced drastically, leaving them at 1,050. The Return from Different Dimension card whammed into sight. Return from the Different Dimension special summons as many of my monsters removed from the game that can be summoned on the field in attack mode. X-Head Cannon returned from out of pitch darkness, crossing space and being summoned to the field. It was then that Pegasus realized the gravity of the situation and turned pale. XZ's combination, come forth, XYZ Dragon Cannon. The three mecha hit their jets against the field and soar up above. The mecha combined together, making heavy clanking noises. The fearsome form of the mechanical XYZ Dragon Cannon appeared before the frozen Pegasus. This card destroys one of your cards by discarding one card in my hand. Kaiba discarded a card in his hand. Destroy his Toon World. XYZ Dragon Cannon. XYZ Dragon Cannon's gigantic turrets are positioned Toon World with a low charging sound. Oh no! Pegasus's grievous cry vanished in the vicious sound of gunfire. Toon World was destroyed instantly. The Toons, having lost their protection of their world, shrieked and turned into dust. Hyper destruction. In addition to that, the direct attack coming from XYZ Dragon Cannon assaulted Pegasus. Oh no! Pegasus writhed in pain and yelled maddeningly. His count dropped at a tremendous rate, and Pegasus's life points became 0. The duel was over. The mental shock was fed back into his body, and Pegasus collapsed on the floor. Kaiba exits the duel ring without even looking at Pegasus. When he opened the case, 2 cards were inside there. As for the anti-rules, I have won your 2 cards. With the case in hand, he retraced his steps out. Pegasus, fallen on the ground, desperately reached out for Kaiba. 2 cards? That cannot be! Wait! Kaiba boy! In place of an answer, Kaiba shut the iron door with a thick thud. I only created 1 new card. Another card. That might be the dark card my dream about the events of the future was cluing me in on. The sound of the Blue Eyes White Jet sounded in the distance. Pegasus' consciousness once again falls into a deep darkness. Chapter 2. The 3 Mythic Gods Appear. Grandpa Moto's shop in Domino City is visited by the tranquil early afternoon. Inside, Grandpa Moto, who looks like Yugi kept to dry in the sun for half a century, tends to the shop. Oh my god. Today, there hasn't been any sign of a customer since morning. The day of a game shop without popular video games or card releases is a boring one. Even so, the future of business doesn't seem to bother Grandpa Moto. He appears to be entranced in a certain newspaper article. Mummy brought from Egypt on display at the Domino Museum. A photograph of the sarcophagus being submitted to the Domino Museum was on the front page with a color photo of the right side up, crystal, pyramid of light, lined right next to it. What's this? Has it finally been found? His hands holding the newspaper quiver. There might not be anyone who would believe it by looking at his present decrepit appearance, but Grandpa Moto was once a genuine international treasure hunter. Even him obtaining the Millennium Puzzle which Yugioh holds was a fruit of those adventures. Grandpa Moto had heard about a right-side-up pyramid Millennium item counterpart to the Millennium Puzzle from his old friends. As a treasure hunter, he had hoped of bringing both treasures together, but during his career, that wish never came true. They found what he dreamed of in his youth and put it on exhibit in Domino City. Grandpa Moto quickly began to close up the shop in order to, of course, go meet the Pyramid of Light, the lover he has yet to see. The afternoon bell rang at Domino High School. Classes were over, and out of the small group of students going home were Joey, Taya, and Yugioh. However, the three's legs stopped in their tracks. Students who were overflowing from the school were making a crowd in front of the main gate. What's with that? Joey asked suspiciously. The high school doesn't have a public entertainment route where entertainment travels back and forth. The students stare at the outside of the main gate from the schoolyard. Joey, with his tall figure, scoped the outside over the heads of the crowd. He saw duelists gathered from all over the world were forming a dense crowd. There were people of different apparel, age, and skin color. What's up with this? This is bound to be something awesome. Joey suddenly looks behind him. Yugioh was trying to see the front by hippity hopping. What's awesome? Yugioh showed his face from out of the crowd without digression. It's Yugioh Moto, the Duel King. Hey, I've been waiting for you. Accept my challenge. Champion, let's have a duel using the anti-rules with your 3 god cards on the line. The international duelists, who were encircling the place at a safe distance, ran up to the main gate. Yugioh, in complete confusion, stares in terror. Wading through the surge of people, Tristan came running up. This sure is something, Yugioh. You're a world celebrity right now. The whole world knows about you becoming champion in Battle City and getting those god cards. This is bad, Yugioh. You slip out the back gate. But is it alright for me not to come out? I wonder if everyone understands and goes home. If you come out now, you'll get wasted. Hurry and run. I'll figure something out here. Yugioh, quickly. Taya grabbed the bewildered Yugioh's hand in a fret and started running. But they came all this way to meet me. If you go up against opponents like these, it could go on forever. The duelists, not settling with Yugioh not showing up, loiter around the outside of the school gate. Panic could be in store if things don't change. I'm counting on you, Joey. Sure, leave it to me. Joey, shaking with excitement, rushed forward into the duelists, and Tristan stood behind him as if he were a bodyguard. Hold it right there. Joey stands in front of the duelist with his feet set apart. Why is the Duel King running away? Is the champion Yugioh Moto a chicken? Is he intending on running out with the god cards? Joey stood up to the duelists. What in the hell are you guys babbling about? Yugioh ain't no chicken. Then why doesn't he fight us fair and square? He's right. He's right. The 3 mythic god cards that Pegasus created aren't just Yugioh's. They should be the treasure of duelists all over the world. There was a valid point in the duelist's words. Joey was at a loss of words and gulped. His common brain cells couldn't find any words that would convince the duelists. The sound of his blood vessel around his temple could be heard snapping. Shut up! If you got any complaints, say them after you beat me. Joey Wheeler, one of the final 4 in Battle City. I'm going to make sure you guys have what it takes to challenge Yugioh. Things were different from the times when he was in the final 8 of the town tournament. Now he may be one of the 5 best duelists in the world. Joey put his duel disc on his arm. Come on, who's stepping up? Come and get it. All right, I challenge you, sounded a voice from the crowd. The white-skinned boy that had already had his duel disc attached to his body didn't look anything like a boy with all the muscles he had. He's got quite the body on him. Don't lose, Joey. Are you stupid or something, Tristan? Duels aren't just about brawn. While nervous on the inside, Joey picked himself up. Using the schoolyard as a ring, the duel started. Yugioh ran while being forcibly drawn by Taya and tripping. Joey is keeping them busy. Now's our chance. I wonder if Joey will be okay. Yugi was concerned not for himself, but his friends. Taya was searching for a place to hide themselves. A building in ancient Roman construction, shining chalky white, appeared before their very eyes. This building, disproportioned in such a small suburban city, is the Domino City Museum. Taya thought of hiding there for the time being. Yugi in there! Taya, glancing back, loses sight of Yugi, who was supposed to be right next to her. Yugi was looking at a displayed billboard with keen interest. The poster read, Mummy and Crystal, Pyramid Special Exhibit, and a picture of the Crystal Pyramid on it. The Crystal Pyramid looked like the Millennium Puzzle turned upside down to Taya. Whether it was because it was a daytime on a weekday, there weren't many people for the large-scale exhibit. Artifacts that have surfaced in the present day through many thousands of years are displayed in an orderly fashion. Yugi and Taya travel between the different exhibits and approach the glass case near the rear. The mummy, with eyes already worn down to its sockets, open, was housed in the sarcophagus. Yugi was deeply interested, but Taya is a girl about it. This is making me sick. Let's go to the next one. Taya hurried them up to the next exhibit. Yugi was taken away from the mummy's side with reluctance. It looks like the Crystal Pyramid exhibit is on the other side. Following the direction board, they head for the adjoining room while eyes watch them through the glass. The pitch black eye sockets of the mummy glared for a split second. Unbeknownst to that, Yugi and Taya were at the display corner for the Pyramid of Light. A small old man was planted in front of the pyramid. Without noticing the two behind them, Grandpa Moto looks inside as if in a daze. What? Grandpa, what are you doing here? Oh, Yugi, so you're here. Look at this. Huh? What is this? It's said that the Pyramid of Light closely resembles the Millennium Puzzle in overall impressions. The engraved patterns and the text of the ancient priests are almost identical. It's crystal and, instead of the Eye of Wijat, a red jewel is set into it. Taya gazed at the Millennium Puzzle worn around Yugi's neck. It really does look alike, but isn't it being displayed upside down? It's not. From the direction of the text of the ancient priests, the heretic text, this is how it should be. This is a legendary treasure which I couldn't find in the end. Grandpa Moto wouldn't normally flaunt his past as a treasure hunter, but he would tell his dear grandson just a little bit about it. Yugi remembered that. Does it have anything to do with the Millennium Puzzle? They say the Pyramid of Light is the symbol of the King of Light. In other words, it exists on an opposite extreme to your Millennium Puzzle which governs the darkness. Yugi re-glanced at the Millennium Puzzle on his chest. There's something written on the lid of the mummy's sarcophagus on the other side too. Let's get back there. I don't want to go to that mummy again. Taya, her eyes looking around restlessly, noticed lithograph decorating the spot next to the glass case. Engravings, perceived to be the three Egyptian gods, were chiseled on the triangular lithograph. You know something? Could this be about the three god cards? When Taya looked back, Yugi and Grandpa Moto had already returned in front of the mummy's sarcophagus. For the love of... Taya, following the two, without much choice in the matter, returned to the mummy's sarcophagus exhibit. Yugi and Grandpa Moto were looking at the text on the lid of the sarcophagus. What's this written here? Do you know, Grandpa? Having to live up to his grandpa's expectations, Grandpa Moto enthusiastically took a look at the text of ancient priests. The King of Light, the King of Darkness, fight, and then the King of Destruction will be reborn, or something meaning to that effect is written here. The text looks like it's a prophetic note of some kind. If they had seen something to inspire them in even the slightest, maybe they wouldn't have overlooked the eyeballs shining slimily in the mummy's eye sockets. The vision of a man dressed in the attire of an ancient priest emerged above Yugi and Soguraku's heads. The man reached for their heads without them having no way of knowing that this was going on. Yugi and Grandpa Moto were wrapped in a mysterious light, which caused them to become dazed, and the scenery around them jumps into white. Coming to, Yugi was in the middle of a sea of stars. In the swirling galaxy float pyramids of light and dark. The two pyramids draw nearer as if they call out to another. What is this? A voice echoed throughout his mind to answer Yugi's question. When both light and dark intersect. An image in which Dark Yugi and Kaiba confront each other in a duel surfaces. The King of Light will destroy the sacred beasts of darkness and lay waste to the King of Darkness. The image of Dark Yugi sunk to his knees. When enough light is fulfilled, a giant arm drew on a triumphant Kaiba from behind and grabbed his head. The King of Destruction will be reborn. Light gushes from the puzzle, severing the image. Yugi looks up to see he is in his mind room within the Millennium Puzzle. Dark Yugi was sitting in the stone children's room, looking mindful. Other self? What was that just now? Did you just have that vision too? He tries asking the Dark Yugi. Yeah, I don't know what it's about, but maybe I'm this King of Darkness. Then who's the King of Light? I'm sure I saw an image of Kaiba. If the King of Light is referring to Kaiba, then who is the King of Destruction? I sense that an evil power is afoot. If this is foretelling the future, as Grandpa said, Kaiba might be a goner. Kaiba could... It was then that at a bring, a shrill, resounding metallic sound, Yugi was brought back to his senses. Yugi opens his eyes to find the alarm installed into the museum was ablaze. Taya was looking at Yugi and Grandpa Moto, lying collapsed on the floor, worriedly. Yugi, grandfather, snap out of it. Yugi was the first to open his eyes. Did you have that vision too, Taya? What are you talking about? I'm pretty sure the place filled with light and blinded me, but look at that. Yugi looked to where Anzu was pointing to see that the mummy's sarcophagus placed on one end of the room had been smashed to pieces and that the inside was empty. The inside of the sarcophagus, the mummy is missing, calls the guard who had instantly came running. There was the voice of another guard coming from the corresponding room. In here too, the crystal pyramid is missing. At that time, Grandpa Moto, who lay fallen nearby, comes to his senses with a oomph. Yugi and Taya, who were peering over him, took hefty sighs of relief. Taya, you take care of Grandpa. Where are you going, Yugi? There's something that's on my mind. Yugi started to run. Hold on, Yugi. Taya wanted to go chase after Yugi, but she couldn't leave Grandpa Moto behind. Grandfather, are you okay? Grandpa Moto vaguely watched the shape of guards running around the building, but suddenly regained his senses and looked at Taya. What happened to me? You lost consciousness. Yugi said that he had a vision. How long was I unconscious for? A split second. But in that time, the mummy and the Pyramid of Light disappeared. So that ancient mummy really did revive, did it? That can't be. It's impossible. Yes, through common sense it is. However, the premonition on the lid of the sarcophagus told of the rebirth. Unpredictable things do happen in a world controlled by darkness. Grandpa Moto looked around him and realized Yugi wasn't there. Where's Yugi? I have no idea myself, but he went off somewhere in a hurry. Could it be that Yugi and I had the same vision? It seems something unimaginable to the common sense of the world is already on the move. What is this something unimaginable? Normally I'd say the power of darkness, but the enemy this time is much more terrible. The powers of light. Yugi rushed in front of the gates of Domino City Museum in an effort to inform Kaiba of the danger of the mysterious prophecy. He had no process in mind that could allow both Kaiba and himself to avoid danger trying to attack them. He feels pressed, but there are no taxis nearby. This is where a limousine shows up, screeching his tires, making a quick stop right in front of him. The backseat door opened with a solid thud and bam. Who came out was Mokuba, Seto Kaiba's younger brother. Mokuba? I thought you'd be heading to your brother right now. What luck. This is a message from brother. I'm waiting at the Kaiba Land event dome. Mokuba's eyes were somewhat frightened. It is clear that his heart trembles. I understand. Let's go. Yugi hopped in the car with no hesitation. Mokuba was the only one in the back seat, and Yugi sat down as his body sunk into the cushions. The driver's seat is partitioned with black glass, and the car drove off silently. Brother said for you to put the 3 god cards in your deck no matter what. He said there won't be a point unless he fights the Duel King at his very best. Mokuba, I'm sorry, but I can't use the God cards. Why not? The God cards have a power which transcends logic. They might override the system and inflict damage to its adversaries. While that may be true, he probably won't sit well unless you have the God cards. Brother isn't acting normal nowadays. He's probably used any means necessary to make you use the God cards. What do you mean he's not acting normal, Mokuba? If it's okay with you, why don't you tell me about it? The truth is, I'm not very sure. He's acting weird, almost as if he's being controlled by something. Mokuba's troubled eyes shimmered as to protest of something. Just what you know is fine, so why don't you tell me anything you know? Right. After Battle City, I thought that the kind brother I once knew would finally come back, but we're both the only brothers me and my brother have in the world. A long time ago, we lost both of our parents. We were put into an orphanage. Even if it be, Yugi wasn't clueless about Kaiba and Mokuba. While en route to the Duel Tower, the site of the Battle City Finals, they were abducted by a mysterious submarine. The culprit was Noah, the real son of Gozabura and Kaiba's adoptive father. Noah had already suffered a premature death, and afterwards his spirit was turned into programming and left in their computers. It was Gozabura's expression of the depths of his love towards his son. However, time passed on, and Gozabura's visits with Noah in the virtual world became infrequent. Noah knew the reason was because he adopted Seto as his son. The sadness of having lost the love of his father had been changed into a vengeance towards Kaiba, and in order to defeat Kaiba, Noah had recorded and analyzed everything on Kaiba. Yugi was sucked into that family love-hate drama. That was when, within the submarine, Noah showed them Kaiba and Mokuba's pasts, recreated through virtual reality. However, Yugi listened silently to Mokuba's words. He thought that listening to all on Mokuba's mind would be key behind the mystery of Kaiba. Mokuba started on his tail. Kaiba physically defended the small and bullied Mokuba. When Mokuba was down, Kaiba would play Mokuba in games which he was good at. In the time he spent playing with his brother, he forgot about everything which made him sad. To Mokuba, games were tools to tie both his and his brother's hearts together. Those were the most peaceful and fun times for the brothers. But ever since our adoptive father, Gozabura, visited the orphanage, Brother's personality changed. Kaiba had challenged Gozabura, who was a world chess champion, and defeated him. Touting his talents to Gozabura, he had won his bet to be adopted. Since then, games to Kaiba were turned into tools, not to confirm affections, but to fulfill his own ambitions. After that, Kaiba's progress was remarkable. Seto developed the solid vision system under the tutelage of his adoptive father for use in Duel Monsters. Kaiba, utilizing this system, tried to construct Kaiba Land, a game paradise which was a dream since his childhood. But Gozabura disregarded Kaiba's dream and utilized the system for military purposes. It was a possibility for Kaiba Corporation advanced to a conglomerate. Despite his request to build Kaiba Land, Gozabura continued to disregard them. That was when Gozabura died abruptly. Different rumors spread regarding his death. Among one of them was that he was killed by Seto. Even Mokuba has heard that one. I don't believe in those rumors, but it is true that since then, the Big Five trapped in the computer world, the company has gone under one-man management. Brother became all the more colder ever since around then. You would probably know about my brother ever since then, Yugi. His interest in you seems to be more than his interest in me, after all. It's not like that. There's no way Kaiba would forget about you. Don't console me. I hate games and I hate Duel Monsters. Duel Monsters has split us both apart. Mokuba. Yugi was unhappy. A young boy's heart was being damaged by Duel Monsters, the game which he loved so much. He wanted to return Kaiba's heart to him somehow or another. Duel Monster is supposed to have the power to tie hearts among people together. If I didn't duel, I'm sure that I wouldn't have been able to link my heart with Joey, Tristan, Taya, and he tried talking about his other self, but he suddenly held his tongue. And with my many rivals. It's true that duels have a magical power which enthralls the hearts of an individual. He'll probably seem to be acting weird, temporarily, just as you said. But Kaiba is sensible. I'm sure he'll eventually open his eyes. Duels link people's hearts together, you say? Then prove it to me. Get back Brother's heart. Brother's heart is frozen solid. Get back my old brother that used to laugh with me. The heart of the boy, pleading with tears in his round eyes, needed to have an answer. And Yugi decided, I understand. Huh? Stop the car at my house. The three gods are at home. In front of Grandpa Moto's house, Joey trails in Tristan's heels with an exhausted look on his face and panting. I wonder if Yugi got away all right. Am I ever beat? Oh well, it wasn't that big a problem, right? You liar, you better bet it was a problem. It was then that the limousine was driving past their eyes. Huh? That car just came from Yugi's house. It's headed towards Kaiba Land. Joey saw where the car was going, the roof of the massive Kaiba Land dome, which is where the straight road led to, shined red by the sunset being reflected off it. The limousine stopped in the Kaiba Land parking lot, and Yugi and Mokuba got out of the car. Mokuba had stopped at the event's dome's elevator, pointed at the door. Brother should be waiting for you inside the dome. Yugi entered the elevator with his bag in hand, and the door shut without making a sound, with the red sunset running through the see-through elevator tube. Yugi took the three god cards from his bag and stared at them. Other self, Yugi addressed, facing his other self within the darkness of his image. I had planned to not use these 3 god cards. Their powers are far too great and will affect the people that are dueling. Besides that, these cards just happen to be essential for you to regain your name. They must not be stolen by anyone else ever again. But I want to use these cards just once. The Dark Yugi stares at Yugi's earnest eyes. I have to use them to save Kaiba. It looks like something is happening to Kaiba now, and according to that premonition, if I lose and Kaiba wins, Kaiba will die. I feel an evil power. You should give up on this duel, but even if I said that, you probably wouldn't listen anyway. I have no idea what will happen once the duel starts, but I simply can't afford to lose this duel. There is indeed only one way to beat this premonition, and that has to be fighting with the 3 god cards and defeating Kaiba. Other self, will you lend me your strength? With our powers, we'll change the future predicted for us. I will, partner. The Millennium Puzzle around Yugi's neck releases a sparkling plasma. The light shined brightly, concentrating into the eye of Wadjat. Under the pressure being exerted from the Millennium Puzzle, Yugi's hair floats up. The shining consumes the area, and the 2 Yugis could be seen at the same time for a split second. Wham! The personalities of Yugi and the Dark Yugi had switched places. The eyes which opened up sharply were of Dark Yugi, who had already become so much more intimidating. Dark Yugi picked up the 3 god cards and put them into the deck. Around the same time, Honda and Joey had followed the car and made it to Kaiba Land. Say, Joey, do you really think that Yugi came here? The car was definitely heading from Yugi's house towards Kaiba Land. Mokuba showed up in front of the 2 as they prowled around aimlessly without a way to enter the dome. What are you guys doing over there? Mokuba, I'm sure that Yugi came here. Yeah, Yugi is inside the dome. Why did he come here? So that he can get my brother's heart back. Huh? Joey and Tristan interjected as they looked at Mokuba. Kaiba was standing perfectly still in the duel ring installed on the dome's field. I will surpass Yugi, surpass the gods, and stand at the apex of duel monsters. 2 new cards were stocked in Kaiba's deck. Those cards were the secret strategies Pegasus developed to defeat the gods. The tie between Kaiba and Yugi ran deep. It started with them being in the same school, with one being the representative of Kaiba Corp, and the other being nothing more than a mere inheritor of a game shop with a love of games. Kaiba wasn't even aware of Yugi being his rival. However, once he started in Duel Monsters, he steadily distinguished himself. After being invited to Duelist Kingdom by the Game of Darkness video sent by Pegasus, he defeated leading duelists and ascended to the apex in a baffling amount of time. Kaiba has always been looking at Yugi, as he keeps making it big, with eyes of jealousy. He can be the only man to become Duel King, and if it weren't for that other man, he could have been ruling and reigning over the world right around now. There was only one way to quell his self-surprisingly violent mind, and that was to smash his rival to pieces with his own hands. He would stop at nothing, as it did happen long ago when he got in right with Gozabura, became his adoptive son, and took over the company. As when collecting the Blue Eyes White Dragon cards, or even when he tried to oust the Big Five and control the company to his own will. He has come through hell and high water to accomplish the impossible. Kaiba suddenly glances at the field's entrance to see Dark Yugi entering. Kaiba grinned and murmured, "So he's arrived." At that very time, Joey and Tristan fly in from the stand entrance. The 2 lean over the fence and look at the duel ring. Mokuba entered the metallic booth that has a concentration of all the system used to control the dome. The booth traveled along the guide rail to the top of the ceiling. Yugi, how are you going to get back brother's heart? If you manage to do it, I'll like Duel Monsters again. Kaiba and Dark Yugi stood, facing each other, on either side of the ring. How good of you to come, Yugi. I'll give you credit for that. I'm going to get back the title of Duel King, here and today. Wait, Kaiba, there's an evil force at work in this duel. It might have momentous life-threatening consequences on you, and yet you're saying you're willing to go through with this? Again with your occult tales. Enough is enough. That aside, have you brought the 3 god cards? I have. They're already in my deck. Life-threatening. That too sounds interesting, but all I want is to overcome you, the possessor of the 3 god cards. If I can do that, I'll gladly give up my life. Kaiba sharply points at the control room. Mokuba, seal off all entrances and exits. Yes, brother. Mokuba in the booth pushed a switch, and a heavy mechanical sound blared across the spectator stands. The shutters of dome's ceiling and all the entrances and exits closed simultaneously. Kaiba, what are you up to? Why do you have to seal the Kaiba Dome? Yugi, it's so you won't escape. Ugh. Yugi's likeness floated right next to Dark Yugi. Even after swapping personalities, Yugi, while inside the children's room in the Mind Labyrinth, and Dark Yugi, while in the real world, can talk to each other this way. Other self, it seems that Kaiba hasn't realized anything after all. Persuasion is no good. I think that winning the duel might be the only way to change the future. It appears we can only confirm the true nature of the evil during the duel. Dark Yugi switched his gaze onto Kaiba. I got it then. I'm up for it. Without even having to fight, victory is already within my deck. Each player will take their shuffled cards and set them in the duel disc. The initial duel disc system was a gigantic machine that is installed in the ring. However, now that it has evolved, it has become so compact that it can fit around one's left arm. Following directions, Dark Yugi set his deck of cards into the duel disc on his left arm. Life points are 4,000. Counter set. Blue characters reading 4,000 flash on the scoreboard. All of our duels up until now have ended up the same many a time, but this will be the last. For when everything is over, you'll have used up all your strength, and you won't be able to hold a card ever again. A duel that'll use up all my strength? I'll take your challenge. Duel! Both Kaiba and Yugi cried at the same time. It's my turn. Draw! As soon as Kaiba drew the first card, the duel had finally gone underway. I summoned Familiar Knight from my hand in defense mode. A hint of a game of darkness could still not be sensed. When it came back to his turn, Dark Yugi summoned Queen's Knight and commenced battle right away. He wants to win the game quickly before any dark powers are set in motion. Queen's Saber Slash! The sharp sound of the female's knight's sword rang throughout the field. When Familiar Knight let out the last throes of its life and disappeared, Rare Metal Dragon cropped up on Kaiba's side of the field. It was special summoned through Familiar Knight's monster effect. Rare Metal has a level of 4 and an attack power of 2,400. Kaiba leaving himself open to have Yugi attack was all part of his strategy to use Familiar Knight as a sacrifice to bring in the mightiest of 4-star monsters, which cannot be normal summoned, Rare Metal Dragon. So the dark power still hasn't taken over him yet. Kaiba's judgment as a duelist is cool and rational. Yugi mentally murmured and smiled at ease. What's so funny, Yugi? I'm going to take advantage of your own combo. You're not the only one that can call out a level 4 monster through Familiar Knight's destruction. I summon King's Knight. The two knights were lined up in front of Yugi, but the combo didn't end on just that. When King and Queen are on the field, I can summon the Jack from my deck to the field. 3 knight cards based off of the King, Queen, and Jack face playing cards were all together. Now as long as he can bring in a god card into his hand, the preparations for summoning it are complete. Then I set 1 reverse card and end my turn. Yugi forced himself to set a trap card face down. Bringing together sacrifices for the summoning of God through a monster combo in no time at all, Yugi. It seems your skills haven't gotten rusty. Then again, I had factored that in as well. The turn passes to Kaiba. In a duel, if the element of luck were to come in, it would be the moment of a draw. Strength in drawing could possibly be an ability given by God. So in this very case, whether what housed inside Kaiba is God or the devil, there is no doubt that he is being acted upon by someone not human. Kaiba drew the exact card he was expecting from his deck, the Pyramid of Light. It was one of the cards he brought back from Pegasus's villa. The card features a picture of a pyramid shining gold as its name suggests. On the pyramid, a red eye similar to the Eye of Wijat is wide open. The eye gave off the presence of something not good, but ill, and this ill presence seemed as if it were engrossing Kaiba. Kaiba places the Pyramid of Light face down. Yugi, quickly call upon your gods. Even though the turns had switched, Yugi didn't move right away, and instead glanced at the 2 cards arranged on Kaiba's side of the field. Why did he summon a level 4 monster and yet not attack? Is he being wary of my reverse card? What could Kaiba be up to? Dark Yugi put his fingers on his deck and had a feeling as if an electric shock ran from his fingertips to his brow. Even if Kaiba were to show his devilish drawing, it wouldn't even compare to Yugi's drawing strength. This is it. I feel it. Dark Yugi draws Slifer the Sky Dragon, and the original Yugi's form shows up right beside Dark Yugi. So it's finally here, other self. Yugi had a complex look on his face. Yeah, partner, I understand how you feel. I admit that it's dangerous, but we can't save Kaiba unless we do. Yugi nodded in agreement. The two had their intention certain. I offer my 3 knights on the field to summon Slifer the Sky Dragon, Dark Yugi cries, wrapping the 3 knights in light and subliminating them. The golden particles swirl in the sky above the ring, stirring up the clouds. Seeing the signs of the appearance of the god, Kaiba beamed, not in fear, but in great joy. I've been awaiting you, God. With lightning gushing from the swelling clouds, the flying holy dragon made its appearance. Kaiba, I don't know what you have face down, but traps have no effect on a god. Dark Yugi glanced sternly at the god of the skies. Slifer, attack! Thunder Force! The Sky Dragon opens his jaw with a crackling sound, and an intense shine runs through the sky. The electrical attack coming from the 3,000 attack power Slifer, the Sky Dragon's mouth, assaults the 2,400 attack power Rare Metal Dragon. The purple flash runs through the space, leaving a burnt smell lingering and wiping Rare Metal Dragon off of the field. The pointed tip of plasma also flew at Kaiba, which made his life points decrease from 4,000 to 3,400. I end my turn. Awesome, called Tristan in the spectator stands. Sure is. This is going to be a clear-cut victory. Joey was certain. No, even excluding Joey, and it was 100 out of 100 duelists, they probably would all believe in Dark Yugi's victory. Kaiba drew his card with his mouth, distortedly evil. Yugi, I'm going to remove the 3 gods you hold from the field. What? Magic card activate. Obligatory summon. This makes you special summon as many monsters as possible from their deck to the field of the same type as a monster you control. Dark Yugi and Yugi looked at each other in wonder. Kaiba, what in the world are you thinking? What could Kaiba be after by bringing together all 3 gods on purpose? What's the holdup, Yugi? Come on, call upon your 3 gods. I'm going to surpass them. Kaiba screamed in the duel ring. That's impossible. There's no such card that can surpass a god. Dark Yugi scowled sharply at Kaiba. I still can't read Kaiba's strategy, but the appearance of the gods will surely change the future. You're right, other self. The certainties motivated Dark Yugi. Obelisk the Tormentor and the Winged Dragon of Ra. Gwoosh. A gust of wind blows through the virtual system duel ring, and both Dark Yugi and Kaiba desperately hold their ground while the black clouds cascade into a space warp. By first extending its giant arm, the god of Obelisk then reveals its entire body, which is wrapped in an armor of thick muscle. Next, a mysterious bird spreading its wings onto the scene from the swirl of dark clouds. This was the calling of the Winged Dragon of Ra. The 3 Egyptian gods, which possessed a presence unlike any 3D virtual projection, were arrayed above Yugi. Mokuba, inside the booth installed on the dome ceiling, was looking at this sight with a shiver. Yugi, can your 3 gods open my brother's eyes? Can you bring my brother back to me? Chapter 3, The Pyramid of Light. Kaiba, having crossed the Pacific to return from Pegasus's place, had done an immediate analysis on the 2 cards and quivered with joy, for he was convinced that they had the power to best the 3 Egyptian gods. You're scaring me, said Mokuba as he looked at Kaiba, who appeared to be jubilated. When he was asked, what are you afraid of? He replied, it's like you're being possessed, big brother, and then pleaded to Kaiba, come back to normal. What nonsense. You should be rising to heights I'm at as well, Kaiba then reproached. At the moment, his older brother was bidding for the apex of the entire dueling world. Long ago, Kaiba and Mokuba were tormented and shunned by the world, but now, on the contrary, they have both been given a chance to rule the world. The time for them to get back at the world, which made fools of them, had arrived. How many times have they dyed their hands in blood for this very day? Having their adoptive father, Gozabura, dead, they drove out the Big Five. What had they spent their whole life crossing these dangerous bridges for? Wasn't it to grab at this one chance? Wouldn't his little brother, Mokuba, be the one to understand this best of all? Kaiba was on edge. This isn't the time to be going on about connecting our hearts or other sickening things like that. We could rule the world as many times as we'd like by being good brothers. By becoming king of duel monsters and seizing everything nominally and virtually, the world would move through his own accord. This is what Kaiba believed. What his brother said made Mokuba go silent. The younger brother tried to deny what his brother had said with his silence, but the older brother took it positively. The rift between Kaiba and Mokuba's hearts had gotten so wide, without them even knowing there was someone trying to get in the gap in their hearts in secret. Kaiba's heart, which otherwise has a pure love of gaming, is being directed down a wicked path called revenge. Mokuba, who thought he came off as being possessed by someone, is not incorrect. Perhaps to the eyes of Mokuba, it looked like an ominous, black shadow. The three Egyptian gods were floating against Dark Yugi in the background. What a spectacular sight, Yugi, but this is the beginning of your defeat. Kaiba shouted in boast of his victory while at an overwhelming disadvantage. Now that all the three mythic gods are on the field, I'm going to activate my god-containing Pyramid of Light. What? God-containing? Could that possibly be? Dark Yugi remembered the sight he saw at Domino City. He hadn't taken much heed to the triangular lithograph lying next to the crystal pyramid when Taya called out to him. However, the three gods were definitely on it. Could this have been what the lithograph was showing? Dark Yugi mentally murmured. All your gods on the field will be removed from the game. Away you go to the dimensional mists, Kaiba shouted. The tossing tremors shake the entire dome, and a wall of light lurches up from the field, splitting between the three mythic gods and the ring evenly. Had 1,000 suns risen, the three Egyptian gods do nothing but recoil at the intense brilliance. Joey and Tristan were in the dome spectator stands, looking in astonishment. What is that? Joey, a wall of light popped up. Is that thing a 3D image made by the Duel Ring 2? That's impossible, Tristan. It's too real to be a holographic image the Duel Ring can generate. Even a sound system with bass deep enough shouldn't be strong enough to bring down the dome. There's no doubt about it then. Is the dome roof starting to crack? Are you serious? The particles of light sparkle and spread out. The spots become a surface and create walls of light, and the walls enclose the ring from every direction towards the top. In the middle of the dome, with the ring encompassed, a huge pyramid was created, the Pyramid of Light. The three Egyptian gods, Ra, Obelisk, and Slifer, having been repelled by the walls of light, disappear from the dome. Look, Joey, the three Egyptian gods didn't even do anything, and they just disappeared. What is with these strong winds? Danger didn't just nip at the buds at the three Egyptian gods as a red eye formed on the wall of light, sucking up a large quantity of air while swirling like Jupiter's great red spot. Ah, Tristan! Joey's body, which was leaning forward from the spectator stand, was caught in the air. Tristan quickly reached out for him, and his sturdy palm grabbed Joey's arm, though they couldn't fight the fierce torrent of air. Tristan and Joey disappeared into the red eye, leaving their pitiful screams behind. There was one more person watching this scene in disbelief. It was Mokuba. In the control booth that was knocked off its rail in the violent quaking and being suspended in midair with the help of several cords. Mokuba, in the tilted booth, looks down at the entire dome, grasping onto the hardware. The huge pyramid which appeared in the middle of the field wasn't an illusion. This isn't a solid vision system virtual image. The Pyramid of Light that encloses Kaiba and Dark Yugi now, before Mokuba's eyes, were real. He knew best of all that Kaiba Corporation doesn't have that sort of scientific power. If it wasn't for the occult, which Brother always denies, something like this could never happen. The tremors sensate through Mokuba's body. The cords tethering the booth to the ceiling could snap at any moment. Before the booth fell, Mokuba barely managed to escape down a rope. In that next instant, the dome ceiling came crumbling down. The glow of the pyramid splits and drifts up from his eyes towards the sky. Ominous clouds swirled in the skies above the dome. The two figures were running towards the Kaiba dome. Even though Taya was a young would-be dancer, Grandpa Moto, the good walker he is, manages to follow in her heels. What's that light? Taya points to a corner of the sky. The light coming from the dome stood out against the swirling clouds. Oh no, we're too late. According to my experience, having gone on hundreds of adventures and uncovering thousands of ruins, when the forbidden edicts are broken, dark clouds, forbearing tides of ill omen form. What does that mean? Let's hurry. If my hunch is right, something horrible is going to happen. We have to stop the duel at all costs. What do you mean? How do you know those two are dueling? I had a vision while I was unconscious at the museum. In their duel, Kaiba defeats Yugi, but a demon's giant hand grabs Kaiba. What does the old man speak of? Since when did he become a prophet? Taya, one of today's children, readily disbelieves what Grandpa Moto said. Grandfather, don't you think we should go to the Kaiba Dome after we visit Domino City Hospital? You did happen to hit your head when you collapsed at the museum. Hey, you don't believe a word I've said, do you? Don't believe me if you want, but make no doubts that a dangerous duel is about to go on. Taya couldn't believe the nonsense that the old man, his age set apart from her own by half a century, was spouting out. The terrible accident had made the beautiful Kaiba Dome, depicting a hemisphere, to cave in miserably. Even Taya had to admit that. In the face of reality, something was going on. Avoiding the scattered rubble, Taya and Grandpa Moto proceeded to walk cautiously inside the dome. Normally, there would be a passageway for duelists heading towards the ring. By going through the dark concrete tunnel, they should have come out on the green turf field. However, a mountain of debris could be seen cutting off the other side of the tunnel. What in the world happened? It's almost as if it caved through an earthquake or something. Yeah, and if Yugi and Kaiba are dueling like the prophecy stated, this isn't even half of our worries. They dart out of a crawl space into the vast interior of the dome, where Grandpa Moto and Taya find Mokuba in one corner, standing still and dumbfounded. Mokuba, what in the world? Anzu bit back her next words. The walls of light past Mokuba covered her field of vision. It was so huge that she couldn't look over the entire thing. It was only after she got out of the tunnel did she recognize the pyramid of light towering over the surrounds. The pyramid of light surrounded the entire duel ring. In the middle of the walls of light, the red eye symbol swirled around. This really seems unreal. It's so bizarre yet so beautiful. I've been around the world, but I've never seen a sight this beautiful. Mokuba, what is this thing? I don't know, but this isn't Duel Monsters. Something like this couldn't even be created with our technological capabilities. Was Yugi dueling? Yeah, brother and Yugi should be beyond those walls of light. Yugi! Taya unconsciously ran up to the walls of light. A plasma ran from the red eye. Grandpa Moto moved quickly, despite his old age. Maybe it was his resurgent of his younger days as an adventurer that pushed his body. Before the lightning reached Taya, Grandpa Moto quickly held her under his arm and protected her by falling to the ground. The spear of electricity narrowly bore into the ground right beside them. Are you okay, Taya? Thank you, Grandfather. But what is happening? What on earth is this pyramid of light thing? The prophecy says that when the King of Light defeats the King of Darkness, enough light is fulfilled, the King of Destruction will be reborn. When enough light is fulfilled? When I saw this pyramid filled with light, I knew that this was what it was. So you mean that if the prophecy goes unchanged, the King of Destruction will be revived? I don't believe it. Mokuba ran up before they even knew it. Brother doesn't believe in those tall occult tales either. Believe it or not, there's nothing but light filling our eyes at this very moment. Are Yugi and Kaiba still dueling in there? If the vision I saw was a premonition, it's probably still going on. And while Yugi might lose, Kaiba, being victorious, will be in mortal jeopardy. We have to stop that duel at all costs. I can't believe that brother is... Mokuba regretted ever asking Yugi to get back his brother's heart. He should have asked him not to fight no matter what, even if it meant betraying his brother. He screamed, "Brother!" towards the duel ring, but didn't get a response. The inside of the Pyramid of Light was wrapped in a peculiar silence. There was no way for Yugi to know the true nature of the walls of light while in the ring. Glancing all around, the walls of light were all uniformly spread across. When he looks up, the four walls were grouped at a single point, a dozen or so meters above them. It was definitely a right-side-up pyramid, a pyramid created by the walls of light. Is this an image made by the virtual duel system too? Dark Yugi reached out to a wall right behind him from the duel ring. Psh! The plasma turned into a purple glow which ran into the palm of Dark Yugi's hand and in between the wall of light. At that very moment, the Eye of Wajad on the Millennium Puzzle around his neck was wrapped in plasma. Yugi's face seemed to be overlapping the Millennium Puzzle, and it grimaced in pain. Other self, what's wrong, partner? I can't hold on. I can't stay here any longer. I'm being dragged off somewhere. Ah! Yugi's voice grew distant with a dreadful scream. Partner! Dark Yugi was bewildered. He could no longer hear the breathing of his other self, which he sensed right next to him a few seconds ago. Partner, please answer me. I can't hear your voice. Dark Yugi looked at Kaiba, who stood without batting a lash. What is going on here? Weren't you denying the existence of Game of Darkness and duels? Ha ha ha, that's right. It seems you were shocked at the gods vanishing like that, but I had calculated this as well. This is the effect the Pyramid of Light possesses. Kaiba replied with a relaxed look on his face. Duel Monsters begins by reading the chips fixed inside the cards with the dual disk system. The central computer analyzes the program which it reads and creates a 3D image using holograms. Are you saying this is one of your so-called holographic images? The dual disk system isn't just some toy. It's technology on the level of some military secrets. So it's frustrating that only Pegasus Industrial Illusions is the only company that can develop the programming which taps into its latent potential in its fullest. So you mean you never expected that you would see a result this great, right? Yes. Even with my simulation system, I failed to recreate the God cards. Even if we could predict the effect Pyramid of Light would have on the God cards, it could possibly be enough to create a projection of this magnitude. But on that not-so-distant day, I will call not only the Duel Ring hardware, but the card software, or in other words, all of Duel Monsters, my very own. Your vaulting ambitions will be your demise. Sorry, but I'm not a man who'd be content with just the title of Duel King, the 3 God cards which have been impossible to analyze, and the Pyramid of Light which not even the God cards can come close to. Once I analyze its program, Kaiba Corporation will reach new levels, which is to be the greatest business giant in the world. Kaiba's eyes appeared to be shimmering. I am a duel god. I shall become divine creator of all duels. Wait, you still plan on continuing with the duel? Of course I do. My turn isn't over. The duel will continue as the countdown to my victory. It's about time you realize you're being possessed by something. Dark Yugi uttered the same thing that Mokuba, the younger brother, had. I activate Cyclone. It destroys one magic or trap on the field. The duel continued at Kaiba's pace. He destroyed Yugi's Mirror Force, summoned Petin the Dark Clown from his hand, and attacked directly. Dark Yugi's life points dropped to 3,500. A sharp pain coursed through Dark Yugi's body, and a blue glow escaped from his body. Neither Yugi nor Kaiba were aware that this was the glow of the life force, which controlled his very essence. What was that pain and damage I felt when my life points decreased? Yugi found the sensation different than usual and winced. Don't tell me that this... A sense of foreboding flashed in his mind. Then I place a card face down and end my turn. The duel continued within the strange space, which was encompassed by the walls of light on all 4 sides as if nothing had happened. Dark Yugi tried fighting back. He summoned Magician's Valkyria and assaulted Petin the Dark Clown, with the results of the battle being obvious. When Kaiba's life points dropped from 3,400 to 2,300, the glow of his life force oozed out of his body. An intense pain instantly coursed through Kaiba's body as well. Ugh, what's this pain? The pain, which couldn't possibly come from the virtual system, was probably something which Kaiba, who has a hate for all things illogical, couldn't accept. Yet, in preparation for his next move, the pain was not engaged in Kaiba's mindset. Something as insignificant as this won't affect me in the least. You fell into my trap. With Petin the Dark Clown acting as the catalyst, my virus combo is activated. The permanent trap, absolute destruction, genocide virus. The card was Absolute Destruction Genocide Virus. It was one of his forte cutthroat strategies. Dark Yugi must randomly send 10 cards from his deck into the cemetery. My life deck. It's my advanced virus combo. Your life is going to decrease with each passing moment. The tentacles of the virus destroyed 10 cards in Yugi's deck and discarded them into the cemetery. Kaiba's combo didn't stop at that. The special effect of Petin the Dark Clown sent to the cemetery special summoned a new clown from the deck. Though Dark Yugi was able to make a reduction in life points, Kaiba's field had not changed a single bit before Dark Yugi attacked. Instead, things had gotten worse for Dark Yugi. I'm sorry, my deck. It's my fault that you guys got sent to the cemetery without even proving yourselves. He ended his turn with his face looking grim. The virus combo attack was a serious blow to Yugi, who had a bond with his duel spirits. The psychological pain from the actual dueling damage was great. Kaiba continued the duel straightforwardly with his traditional cold expression, reaching the 7th turn. Kaiba summoned his Death Gremlin, used treasure cards of Life Whittling, and drew until his hand had 5 cards. Descent of White Dragon, Knight of White Dragon, Attack Guidance Armor, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Fusion. These were the 5 cards collected in his hand. Kaiba activated the Descent of White Dragon ritual magic, using Death Gremlin as a sacrifice, called forth Knight of White Dragon to the field through its ritual summon, and then conducted battle. Yugi's life points drop again from 3,500 to 3,200, his life force being sucked out of his body. Dark Yugi wore a look of anguish on his face. What could this pain that I felt even before be? Once my life points reduce, it's almost as if my life force is being wrung from my body. Dark Yugi was trying to unravel the mystery of the mysterious sensations he felt. He follows a blue shining vapor escaping from his very body. What's that? Dark Yugi noticed the red eye hovering on the walls of light. His life force dissipates into that red eye. I sense it. These are dark powers without a doubt. Kaiba hasn't noticed? However, Dark Yugi's deduction was interrupted. Employing his best specialty patterns, Kaiba could see nothing more than winning in sight. Knight of White Dragon special effect special summons the Blue Eyes White Dragon from my deck. The Knight of White Dragon switches positions by being wrapped in light and fading away while a blue shine emerged up on the ring. A strange cry rang throughout the ring. Now that you've lost your Egyptian gods, you lack the power to be called Dual King. My monster will put you to an end. Emerging from the glow is Kaiba's soul, the Blue Eyes White Dragon. The dragon with a silver shine displayed its sublime appearance. Dark Yugi's life points are 3,200, while the Blue Eyes White Dragon's attack is 3,000. If exposed to the dragon's flames, Dark Yugi's fate would be in a very precarious situation. The jaws opened slowly, but Kaiba didn't give it order to battle. You're saved for now, Yugi, Kaiba grinned. A Blue Eyes White Dragon special summoned by Knight of White Dragon's effect cannot attack the turn it summoned. I'll place a face-down card and end my turn on that. Yugi was in darkness. A small point of light spreads and looms over his view. He woke up and looked around. Where am I? What happened? Other self, can you hear me? Wrapped in silence was in the area that could answer. Yugi took another look around the view. The Mind Labyrinth. The Mind Labyrinth is another world inside the Millennium Puzzle, and there is a mind room where the soul of the Pharaoh has spent several millennia alone. While Yugi remains in that room when he and Dark Yugi switch places, the nameless Pharaoh has remained there for an eternity in his time. Every time Yugi visits this world, he has thought of the Pharaoh's loneliness and cried. However, what sits before his eyes now is different than what he's used to. The passageways, stairways, and corridors are all intricately in disarray across the confines. The stairways that were upside down, which made it unclear which way to climb them, and corridors which cut off in midair, made it seem that this mind was in disarray. Feeling something indescribably and very wicked, he glanced at the surrounding scenery in blank amazement. This isn't the same old Mind Labyrinth. I've never seen this before. My other self's mind room is missing. Unless I find his mind room, I won't be able to communicate with my other self. Yugi carefully crossed a crumbling stone bridge with determination. He has to find the mind room and escape these confines. Where is my other self's mind room? If I don't find it, I'll probably never be able to get to the real world again. He saw a door to a room behind a crumbled stone wall. It's a door! Is that the one? Yugi pulls on the handle, but he has a hard time as it is caught on something. He opens the door with all of his might to have a tremendous amount of sand come gushing out. Ah! Yugi ran in a mad rush, almost being buried in the sand. Full of sand, he once again progressed through the labyrinth and finds another door. Other self! Yugi grabbed the handle, praying that this would be the mind room. This has to be it. He musters up his strength to open the door with all of his might. In the room, something wriggles noisily. Huh? Yugi looked carefully. Wriggling about were a countless number of scorpions. They raise their poisonous tails, which claim lives with their stings, over their heads and close in. Ah! Where did he pass, and how did he get to where he was now? Yugi sat down in a passageway out of breath. A blue glow flows over his head. It's the life force that escaped Dark Yugi's body, or in fact, Yugi's body itself. What's that? What a pretty glow. He murmurs carefree, unbeknownst to the true nature of the glow. Yugi, intrigued by its beautiful life, chased after the glow. The corridor immediately turned into a dead end. Blocking his path was an astonishingly high, monolithic door. The life force is sucked up into a small crevice between the door and wall. What is this? Yugi touched the door lightly, and whether it was a mechanism of some kind, the huge stone door menacingly moved and made a crevice which could let a single person pass through. Yugi carefully walks forward. It reeked of mold from a cellar that hadn't been entered in years. I wonder what kind of room this is. About 10 of his school's gymnasiums could probably fill the grand hall that he surveys. The fire of several dozen of candlesticks arranged on the stone bridge, which was unreachable even when your arms are held out, couldn't even illuminate the ceiling. Hundreds of sarcophaguses lined both sides of the central passageway that was paved with stone and an altar. Also, forged in stone, formed at the end of it. The glow of the life force is sucked into the red eye. In the darkness, a mummy had been in a long slumber for around 3,000 years. Shining in the shady world was the crystal pyramid of light embedded in its chest. In its center, a red eye set with the lazuline jewels was also shining. These were the mummy and crystal pyramid that had disappeared all of a sudden from the museum. The gemstones were the place where the life force's glow ended up. Taking in life force, the decayed body is wrapped in a blue light, and a fresh and youthful body forms back over the dried skeleton. Muscle grows and skin forms. The eyeballs, which without any white in them were black like an animal's, in the dark and gaping wide eye sockets shined. The mysterious chant of ancient priests rang throughout its regenerated eardrums from somewhere. The chant even reached Yugi's ears. Huh? What are these voices? Yugi looked in the large hall, searching for the singer of the chant. The voices were echoing from the hundreds of sarcophaguses. Something heavy makes a very deep scraping sound. It was the sounds of the lids of the sarcophaguses coming off. The lids drop with a crash, and things inside simultaneously stand up. Yugi couldn't believe his eyes. They were warriors, clad in ancient armaments, breastplates, swords, and spears. The bodies of the decaying mummies stood up from their sarcophaguses, joints creaking, and followed the central stone pathway. Yugi was standing in the mummy warrior's way. Ah! Letting out a pitiable scream, Yugi forced his shaking legs to move and fled. Around the same time Yugi was in the midst of a nightmare, two boys were wandering the labyrinth. It was Joey and Tristan. The two arrived, looking around at everything like country mice lost in a city, in the unfamiliar scenery. Sheesh! The space enclosing every direction with stone walls intricately formed several floors. Even the stone-paved path that they had been walking on was sitting atop mountain upon mountains of balconies. Joey, where did we end up? The dome's underground sewer system? Hey, don't ask me. How should I know what you don't know? Joey was pretty testy. Sorry, but still, even you're acting as stupid as me. I think you're just acting a bit more stupid. My conclusion, though, is that it looks like this is somehow going to work out to be one hell of a mess. So in other words, you have no idea what's going on, do you? That seems to be the case, I guess. Joey and Kristen had been carrying on with an unproductive conversation. Ah! A scream could be heard coming from somewhere. Is that voice? Yeah, no mistaking it. That's Yugi's voice. Both of them had their ears peeled. I'm sure I heard it from here. Joey pointed to the floor below the balcony. The stone-constructed pathway continued into darkness. Yugi's screams resound from the heart of the darkness below. What's Yugi making all that ruckus for? Did something make him happy or something? We're over here, you hear? As soon as Tristan yells, the two of them gasp at the unbelievable sight. Yugi, having rushed out from the darkness, had a pallid look on his face. Mummy warriors pursue him from behind. What are those? Tristan yelled. Joey, who was half ready to flee himself, tightened up the look on his face sternly. But you can't say stuff like that. I'm not going to let Yugi fall prey to those mummies. Tristan, grab my legs. Right, I get you. Joey, making Tristan hold both of his legs, hung himself over the balcony, practically hanging upside down. He reaches over to the bottom floor. Yug, right here. Keep running over here. The face of his friend, turned upside down, appeared at the edges of Yugi's running field of vision. Joey, Tristan. He had no time to be weltered in emotions over their reunion. The sword and spears of the mummies behind him were drawing closer. Grab hold of my hand. Come on, hurry. Gotcha. Yugi reached out, but it just wouldn't reach. No good. Joey, I can't reach up there at my height. Those guys are chasing me. The two of you just trying to get out of here. What the hell are you talking about, dummy? You're not so narrow-minded to think we'd abandon our best friend to save ourselves. You agree, Tristan? Yeah, I'm fine either way, but it's not easy trying to just hold you alone. Hurry up and save Yugi already. You, glisten, life or death, jump towards my hand, put the pedal to the metal and jump. I understand. Yugi concentrated like he didn't even have experience in a gym test. He packed all of the strength into his body, into the tips of his toes, and kicked the stone pavement with all his might. The palm of Yugi's hand extended in midair. Joey grabbed it tightly in fear of letting it go. Yugi's body weight shifts on Joey's shoulders all at once. Ugh! Joey endured it. The strain on Tristan supporting the weight of both Yugi and Joey was even greater. Joey and Tristan had the strength of friendship backing them. The two were filled with strength. Yugi slowly draws himself up, and not a moment too sooner, the tips of Mummy's spears swiped at Yugi's legs. Ready and up! With both of his friends' strength, his small body was pulled up in a single action. With momentum left, the three rolled hard on the stone floor. The three were wrapped more in the feeling of relief of having escaped the mummies than the pain coursing through their bodies. They took a deep breath and looked at each other. Thank you, Joey and Tristan. It was nothing. The rowdy Joey and Tristan were uncharacteristically bashful about being thanked right to their faces. By the way, Yugi, what are you doing here? Tristan questioned blankly. You asked me that, but I haven't the slightest clue either. Tristan, you idiot, stop asking questions like that. But there's a whole lot I don't understand. What the hell were those things chasing Yugi? Where in the hell are we? We'll talk about it later. They're coming, Joey pressed. The armed mummies were trying to reach the upper balcony where Yugi and the others were. The three realized that running away took top priority over unraveling mysteries right now. Yugi, Joey, and Honda, putting up with their aching legs, made a break for it. Chapter 4, Shining Dragon. Dark Yugi felt that this battle was a game of darkness. A game of darkness is a fierce battle where the damage in a duel doesn't just stop at a numerical value, but affects on the duelist's body and spirit. However, there was something mysterious in this one compared to past games of darkness. Kaiba was not in possession of one of the Millennium items. In the past, Pegasus J. Crawford, Marek, and even Yami Bakura, all of which Yami Yugi engaged in a game of darkness with, were each a possessor of a Millennium item. The Millennium Tome of Sorcery is a book that descends from ancient times in Egypt. However, deciphering the spells written in it was difficult. Its contents were long, and it remained a mystery. It was Akhenaten the Wise, during the reign of Akhenaten, that was the first who could decipher it. The arts, as written in the Millennium Tome of Sorcery, spoke of contracting rituals with deities and devils, known as the Dark Laws of Alchemy. The implements needed for these contracts are the Millennium Items. The Millennium Items were made from alchemy by transforming base metals into precious metals by using special techniques. Possessors undertake great anguish as a cost, and there are even some who lose their life. Arts are written in the Millennium Book of Sorcery that allow one to, by controlling both deity and demon, make any kind of troop fall prostrate before them. If they had that power, they could dominate the world. It is said, according to the ideas of ancient Egypt, that humans have demons living in the darkness of their minds called Ka. The art to call forth these Ka into the real world and control them with human spirit, or Ba, was the mysterious power that ancient Egyptians couldn't stop wishing for. There were those who contained these Ka in stone tablets and controlled them at will. The game of Duel Monsters itself is based on these practices, and Games of Darkness has these practices brought back into the present day. Therefore, you need a Millennium item for a Game of Darkness. That would mean that the one behind the Game of Darkness was someone other than Kaiba, since he lacks a Millennium item. The 3 god cards are placed at the highest rank in Duel Monsters: Obelisk, Slifer, and Ra. Each of these 3 mythic beasts symbolize a polarity of all things in the universe. Obelisk for light and dark, Slifer for good and evil, and Ra for heaven and earth. The one who obtains all 3 of these rare cards can obtain the reigning title over the pinnacle of the reigning class of the dueling world, along with the legend of being eternally unbeatable. They say that Pegasus said that creating these 3 rare cards was his biggest mistake, for those cards had enormous strength, as if they had a godly force dwelling in them. They are forbidden cards, which can either be used for good or evil, depending on the handler. If an evil heart controls the cards, they could endanger the lives of their opponents. No, they could possibly possess their powers as ultimate weapons, not only as part of the game, but even in the real world. Pegasus attempted to dispose of the 3 mystical beast cards with his own hands, but all of the severities of their power involved made him unable to do this on his own. Pegasus was struck with the idea of putting the 3 god cards to rest for all eternity deep in the bowels of the earth in the Valley of the Kings, their birthplace. The Egyptian Bureau of Archaeology sealed each of the cards in 3 spots in the Valley of the Kings. Kaiba, who doesn't even have a Millennium item, shouldn't be able to seal off the 3 god cards with the degree of power they have with a single card, the Pyramid of Light. Dark Yugi had a hunch. Someone is behind Seto Kaiba. My bet is that Kaiba is being controlled by that force. That someone must have some kind of Millennium item. No, maybe that reversed Millennium item we saw at Domino City Museum, that pyramid made of crystal, was an 8th Millennium item. But at any rate, I have to end the game of darkness immediately and get us out of the Pyramid of Light. If the vision I had back then is a premonition, then I will lose, and Kaiba, having won, will forfeit his life. I have to end this duel with me winning in order to make sure that premonition is never realized. Where were they at in turns? Yugi continued the duel with a foggy consciousness. However, the genocide virus once again stretches its eerie tentacles towards the deck on Yugi's arm. Ha ha ha! 10 cards will once again be randomly sent from your deck into your grave. Sparks flew from Dark Yugi's duel disc, destroying 10 cards and sending them to the grave. He caught sight of Dark Magician Girl, looking as if she was in pain amongst those cards. It even got Black Magician Girl. To Dark Yugi, his spellcasters are special. Not only does he refer to them as pivotal points to his deck, but also as good and very close friends. Dark Yugi had climbed over many a difficult situations to this very date by gaining the strength of his spellcasters. You guys have protected me countless number of times before, yet I failed to protect you all again. I've lost more than half of my cards already. Despite needing to win the duel, the only things getting denser were the signs of defeat. Yet another Pet in the Dark clown crops up and stands aside Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now where have I seen this sight before? Deja vu, isn't it, Yugi? Your turn was nothing but a bunch of futile resistance in the end. Kaiba's right. Dark Yugi had nothing to retort with and did nothing more but murmur, I end my turn. Kaiba's deck is terribly well thought out. I need to do something about that surging combo of his. Dark Yugi sincerely thought the card Kaiba drew and that in his hand was a Blue Eyes White Dragon. You're all here, my dragons. Kaiba murmured and chuckled inside of his mind. Dragons are Kaiba's key cards as spellcasters are to Yugi. Kaiba himself didn't know that he was the reincarnation of the priest Seto, son of Akhenaten the Wise, younger brother to the king during the reign of King Akhenaten in ancient Egypt. The special Ka produced by the Ba of a white-skinned woman the priest Seto loved was the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Seto Kaiba didn't choose the Blue Eyes White Dragon merely because of the level of his own choice. They have a deep relationship where their spirits are drawn towards one another. I activate the magic card, Fusion, fusing together the blue eyes on the field and the 2 in my hand. With their silver skin gleaming, the 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon came onto the scene with a majestic air about them. The gleam got even brighter as the 3 dragons overlap into one another and form in a mass of silver light. Come forth, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon! The 3-headed Ultimate Dragon emerged from behind the tremendous light and smoke with Kaiba's words. The Ultimate Dragon lifted its 3 heads and roared. Multi-headed dragons are symbols of ill omen that lay waste to even the gods. And now, a 3-headed dragon had appeared on the field as a symbol of Yugi's destruction. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Kaiba's mightiest monster, an ultimate dragon which exceeds even the gods in terms of attack. Dark Yugi marveled at the emergence of the heteromorphic white dragon. Kaiba declares, brimming with confidence, Yugi, let's battle. Ultimate Burst! The 3 heads flip open their jaws and fires its energy with a whooshing sound. The Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, with an attack power of 4,500, pierces right through the Magician's Valkyria with an attack power of 3,600. The Magician's body had evaporated within an instant in the overly tremendous energy rather than being destroyed, and the tremendous pressure shot through Dark Yugi. Dark Yugi's life points reduced by 900, from 2,400 to 1,500. If Magician's Valkyria didn't have mage power equipped to it, Dark Yugi's life points would have been reduced to 0 in front of the overwhelming attack. An amount of glowing blue life force, more massive than any before it, rose from his body. Dark Yugi clutched his arm and sunk to one knee. There's no doubt in my mind. I myself am being damaged every time my life points reduce. This is a game of darkness being ruled by the ancient practices. Dark Yugi's hunch was turning into certainty. Kaiba should be getting damaged when his life points reduce as well. Dark Yugi endured the pain and sternly faced Kaiba. Kaiba, aren't you noticing it as well? You have to be feeling a pain unlike any you would feel normally when your life points decrease. Just stop and try to think why that's happening. It's because this is a game of darkness. Game of darkness, you say? Yeah, the field has been engulfed in a wicked force ever since the Pyramid of Light was activated. It's because the Pyramid of Light you used is a card of darkness descended from ancient times which holds magical powers and can wield influence on the real world. Quit making your accusations, Yugi. Do you intend on going on about your nonsense occult tales? Hurry up and continue with the duel. What? Dark Yugi glanced at Kaiba, who was brimming with confidence. The look on Kaiba's face is clear and serene. Has Kaiba not realized the dark powers? Or maybe the guy behind this duel already has his soul under his control. Ugh. The guy who's using Kaiba and who's behind this duel has to be somewhere. Dark Yugi remembered the voice he heard along with the vision at the Domino City Museum. When both light and dark intersect, the King of Light will destroy the sacred beast of darkness and lay waste to the King of Darkness. When enough light is fulfilled, the King of Destruction will reborn. The speaker of that voice is somewhere in this dome. It's your turn! Kaiba was anxious in the face of victory. Dark Yugi was clearly distracted by the game of darkness and lost concentration towards the duel. Although not having any kind of monster barrier in the face of the Ultimate Dragon, he wouldn't take a break. Yugi, this is your ultimate choice. Do you want to be finished by my virus combo, or do you want to be finished by my Ultimate Dragon? Pick one or the other. Kaiba says to draw Dark Yugi's sentiments back to the duel. Whether Dark Yugi's sentiments had returned to the duel, he glanced sharply at Kaiba. There's only about 10 cards left in my deck, but I will not lose. I will defeat all that stand in the way, for my partner, for Kaiba, and to honor the promise I made with Mokuba. You're too ahead of yourself, Kaiba. I've always trusted in my deck until the very last card. My drawing has pulled me through even the toughest of situations before. Dark Yugi poised his dual disc sternly. I'll let everything ride on this draw. Why don't you show me the strength of your draws? Dark Yugi, drawing the card from his deck quickly, feels a definitive response and smirks. It was the card that would revive the severed bonds between Dark Yugi and his spellcasters. Dark Yugi aligned himself with his spellcasters and switched to the offense at a single stroke. Reverse card, open. I use Resurrection of the Dead to special summon Dark Magician Girl. A warm light shines and the cute Dark Magician Girl appeared on the field. Next, reverse card open, Philosopher's Jewel. When a Dark Magician Girl is on my side of the field, this card's effect can special summon a Dark Magician from my deck. A card shot from his deck, and the Dark Spellcaster appeared on the field. Resistance is futile, Yugi. You have your two magicians out together, but you can't do a single thing. My turn isn't over just yet. Ugh. Kaiba remained quiet, overawed by Dark Yugi's drive. I sacrificed both of my magicians. Dark Magician Girl and Dark Magician disappeared into darkness. With a bodiless shadow left on the field, it mixed into one and formed a black vortex like a black hole would. Special summoning the Black Magic Priest, Magic Hierophant of Black. Another dark shadow emerged from the vortex. Its black cloak covered a wall of light like the darkness of night covers the evening sky. Its cloak billows in the wind. Appearing from the underneath was a sage with a level of majesty more than any spellcaster before. Magic Hierophant of Black's effect will reduce the attack power of Blue Eyes White Dragon. During battle, the monster targeted for battle will have its attack and defense power reduced by 500 for each spellcaster type in each and every cemetery. What? As of now, my magicians Valkyria, Dark Magician, and Dark Magician Girl are resting in the cemetery. That means, with the help of my magicians, Ultimate's power will reduce by 1500. The prayers of the spellcasters in the cemetery encompass the Ultimate Dragon. Raising its three heads, Ultimate Dragon rides in agony. The situation had taken a sudden and unexpected change. The Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon's attack points dropped noisily. How could this be? How could Ultimate and Magic Hierophant of Black's power have switched around? It was the first time in the entire duel that Kaiba displayed an outburst of emotions. Kaiba, let's battle! The Magic Hierophant took action with Dark Yugioh's declaration. The 3200 attack power Magic Hierophant of Black headed towards the 3000 attack power Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Celestial Black burning! Its cloak fluttering. Magical energies surge from the floating Magic Hierophant's wand. The shining purple aura engulfs the three-headed dragon. The Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, its final cries of death lifting from its three set of jaws, was destroyed. The dragon disappeared from the ring, leaving only fierce vapors behind. Only Kaiba's Petin the Dark Clown and Dark Yugioh's Magic Hierophant of Black remained in the ring. The purple aura covered even Kaiba, and his life points decreased from 2300 to 2100. The glow of life force slips out of Kaiba's body as soon as his life decreases. Does he mean that this pain is evidence of a game of darkness? Kaiba may have lost his ultimate dragon, yet a strong radiance dwells in his eyes. Yugi, this pain is being caused by Kaiba Corp technology. The realistic virtual reality generated by Dual's solid vision system deceives the brain so much that one senses even the feeling of pain. No good, huh? It seems like no matter how hard I try, I can't convince Kaiba. It's my turn. Kaiba draws Monster Reborn, making Kaiba's hand compose of that single card. He looks over the field but only sees his Petin the Dark Clown. Damn you, Yugi. But I still have my last Petin left on the field. As long as he doesn't destroy it, he can't attack me directly. And the moment he destroys Petin, my genocide virus will activate to engulf his deck. And that will be the end. Kaiba's turn ended and turned into Yugi's turn. Dark Yugi's hand had a single card he drew as well. Exchange. Magic Hierophant of Black's effect drops Petin's defense power to 0. You're attacking Petin? Impossible. Aren't you afraid of Genocide Virus's effect? Let's battle. Dark Yugi declared in a resolute manner. The Magic Hierophant of Black, keeping the majestically wise expression on its face, with an attack power of 3200, and Petin the Dark Clown, in its smiling mask with a defense power of 1200, confront each other. Attack! Celestial Black burning! Yugi cried, and magical energies surged from the Magic Hierophant's wand. The Dark Clown had vanished from the field, wailing, Kya! At the same time, that should have meant that Yugi would lose. You're a fool, Yugi. According to the activation of the effect of my genocide virus on the field, Yugi, you lose. Dark Yugi kept silent. You've disappointed me. Not 2 times, but 3, Yugi. 10 cards will be sent from your deck to the grave. On that, there should have been no more cards in Yugi's deck, and the duel should have been over. The virus's tentacles assault Dark Yugi's duel disc, but the Magic Hierophant stands in their way. It extends the wand in its hand out, and its aura shines, making the virus recede. What? That's too bad. Magic Hierophant of Black is a top-level priest. It's able to negate the activation of trap cards and destroy them. Damn you. You had an ace like that hidden in the hole, did you? However, the expression on Kaiba's face was one which had a feeling of satisfaction, having seen his rival's real strength. Only from you, Yugi, Duel King. By beating someone strong like you, I will be able to prove my own strength. Kaiba. It's my turn. The card that Kaiba drew was brimming with the celestial light, which has never been seen before. The Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. That was the second of the cards he brought back from over at Pegasus's place. At last you've come. I've been waiting for this moment. A new part of my dragon team. My dragon which transcends dragons. I activate a magic card from my hand. Monster Reborn. Be revived. Ultimate Dragon. The Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon appeared on the field wearing a white light. And next, I'll offer Ultimate Dragon as a sacrifice to special summon from my hand. What? The Ultimate Dragon should be the mightiest monster in Kaiba's deck, and he's going to offer it as a sacrifice? Is he telling me that there's a monster that may even surpass the Ultimate Dragon? My monster cannot be normal summoned, because a power so huge is needed that all of Ultimate Dragon's enormous vital force must be offered for its summoning. The three-headed dragon begins to writhe in pain, and its silver skin chaps away. My dragon, who can only be summoned from my ultimate monster, who obliterates all, show yourself! What? Are you telling me there's a dragon that surpasses your ultimate dragon? Blue Eyes Shining Dragon! The dragon with the name Ultimate begins to writhe in pain with Kaiba's words. Dazzling light surges through the cracks in its skin. Dark Yugi spontaneously covered his face with his arms toward the brilliant shine. Ultimate's shining silver skin crumbles away. Let there be light. The words which are said that God cried when he created the universe are as appropriate as right now. A new life form comes into being, surpassing the level of Ultimate and clad in light. Spreading its wings wrapped in a light on the level of being celestial, the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon rules the air. This is Blue Eye's final evolutionary form. Blue Eye's final evolutionary form, you say, but however, Magic Hierophant of Black is the better in terms of attack. Blue Eye Shining Dragon's attack power is 3,000, but Magic Hierophant of Black's attack power is 3,200. Blue Eye Shining Dragon's attack power increases by 300 for each dragon in my cemetery. This was the cause of Kaiba's confidence. Rare Metal Dragon, the 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, and the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, making a total of 5 in his cemetery, writhe in pain as they release their energies. Energy focusing on it, the Shining Dragon clad itself again in an armor of dazzling light. There are 5 dragons in my cemetery. Its attack power increases by 500. That means Blue Eye Shining Dragon's attack power climbs to 4,500. But with Magic Hierophant of Black's effect, its attack power will drop by 1,500 with the help of my magicians. The parameters figures seesaw back and forth. This was just what a clash of the Dueling Worlds ultimate combo should be. It's no use, Yugi. Kaiba broke a contemptuous smile. Shining Nova! Energy emanated from Blue Eye Shining Dragon and encompassed the Magic Hierophant like a barrier. The Magic Hierophant, who had a majestic expression which had not been broken, had a look of pain about its face for the first time ever. What happened? The Magic Hierophant should have the upper hand. The player can decide at his own discretion whether to let the effects of magic, traps, or monsters which target Shining Dragon affect it or not. Following Kaiba's words, Blue Eye Shining Dragon's attack power parameters remained at 4,500. It has that kind of monster effect? Dark Yugi stood motionless in astonishment. Did you see that? This Blue Eye Shining Dragon is proof of my power. I shall completely destroy all those who stand before me. Yugi, we battle. Shining Burst! The Blue Eye Shining Dragon spread its jaws open wide with a boom. The tremendous swirl of energy could be seen inside its throat. Whoosh! The main torrent of light assaulted the Magic Hierophant, their attack powers being the Blue Eye Shining Dragon's 4,500 against the Magic Hierophant of Black's 3,200. The Magic Hierophant of Black sadly wailed as it turned into black mist and disappeared. The tremendous flow of energy continued on, as if the gates of a dam were opened by muddy waters and drown out homes. The surging flames even consumed Yugi in one burst. Oh! Yugi's life points reduced by 1,300 at tremendous speed and came down to 200 points. Dark Yugi, white smoke raising from his whole body, wobbled forward and fell face down on the ground. Dark Yugi, face down and fallen, unconsciously murmured, "Partner." Yugi led both Joey and Tristan in running on the stone-cold pavement. "Over here!" The 3 go through a stone-paved passageway and project towards the great cosmos, arriving atop a broken bridge. When they look up, a giant upside-down pyramid, the Millennium Puzzle, and a right-side-up pyramid, the Pyramid of Light, float in the pitch-black universe, clashing into one another. It was exactly how it was in the vision Yugi had. Looking through the red eye on the Pyramid of Light, the duel ring looked like an illusion. "Other self!" Yugi inadvertently called out. Dark Yugi lay fallen on the ring, just like the premonition stated. "Isn't that Yugi there too?" Tristan exclaimed. "So that's the other personality he's always talking about, is it?" Joey nodded. "The duel is still going on, but my other self looks strange. We came here right when Kaiba used his Pyramid of Light card, right, Joey?" "Yeah, we were sucked into that swirl in that red eye." "The Pyramid of Light?" "Yeah, walls of light surrounded the duel ring, and there was something similar to that red eye in a wall too." The life force drawn out of Dark Yugi in the duel ring streams its way through the red eye to the maze. Its glow is as beautiful as a swarm of fireflies crossing the pitch-black universe. Yugi follows the glow with his eyes and considers something. "What's the matter, Yugi?" Tristan asks. I had a vision in front of the mummy at Domino City Museum where me and Kaiba are fighting. Kaiba won the duel, but Kaiba, the winner, got grabbed by somebody. And then I heard a premonition saying that when enough light is fulfilled, the King of Destruction will be reborn. Enough light is fulfilled. Tristan leaned his head to the side. Now that you bring it up, back when the Pyramid of Light emerged, I was sure that I had the feeling that light was filling up the place, Joey said. I'm sure that duel is the game of darkness that was in the prophecy. What do you mean? Simultaneously questioned both Joey and Tristan at what Yugi said. Now isn't the time to explain the details, but I can say this. If things are left as they are, my other self might die. That means that I wouldn't have a body to return to, and that's not all. Kaiba, who could be fighting without a clue as to what's going on, is in danger, and then we might not be able to return to our own world ever again. What? So you'll mean we'll die too? Tristan exclaimed. Yugi saw the glow of life force streaming through the inside of the passageway. So that's it. That shine is the glow of my other self's actual life. Does this mean this might be a game of darkness? In a game of darkness, your life points aren't just points in a game. They're human vitality itself. So it's a game for your life? Isn't there any way to save him, Yug? Joey was losing his cool. I don't know. But there was a pyramid with a red eye placed in it, in the altar placed in the room that those mummies were enshrined in. That glow has been flowing into that room. All right, let's try getting back to that altar room. We're not going to understand anything by just sitting still here, right, Joey? Tristan said vigorously. But we'd have to go back to the room that the mummies are in again, Joey muttered with a morbid face. The artificial grass in the Kaiba Dome, which should be lush and green, was covered with gray debris. Grandpa Moto, Taya, Mokuba, all helpless, were standing there on top of it. They get as close to the walls of light as they could, barring going inside the Pyramid of Light. Though they pitch plasma as soon as you touch them, aside from a nearby translucent wall, the duel ring appeared dimly transparent. By looking at Kaiba, standing triumphant, and Yugi, fallen in the ring, one could surmise the situation of the battle. Yugi collapsed! Yugi, snap out of it! Can you hear my voice? Taya frenziedly called out. The premonition will have been fulfilled on whether Yugi has lost or not. Then will my brother die? This is no longer a normal duel. Yugi's actual life is being reduced along with his life points. Both Kaiba and Yugi's lives are in jeopardy. Are you telling us, isn't there anything we can do? How did brother get involved with this game of darkness stuff? My brother said he got a card to overcome the gods from Pegasus and that he would defeat the Duel King, and he said that he would control and reign supreme over the world. It's when humans have the ambitions to overcome God that the chance for them to be exploited by the devil is created. Kaiba might have made a pact with the devil without him even knowing it. That's impossible. Brother wouldn't. The pyramid's walls of light increased in brightness. The dark clouds in the sky above swirled, and lightning struck the earth. A crack runs down the Kaiba Dome's field, opening an ominous black gap. The rift in the earth spreads under their feet, trying to swallow them down to the abyss. Just when they thought all was lost, the whipping sound of a gigantic rotor filled the area, and a rope ladder came down before their very eyes. A helicopter was hovering in the sky they could see from the break in the Kaiba Dome's roof. The platinum blonde hair of the man leaning from the helicopter who had dropped the rope ladder swirls around in the wind. Pegasus yelled down to them with intensity in his face, without even hiding his black open eye socket. Hurry up! Quickly! Climb up! Pegasus! They grabbed a hold of the rope ladder, with Mokuba being first, followed by Taya and then Grandpa Moto. Pegasus holds out his hand, pulling each of them up aboard the copter one by one. The power exerted from the youthful noble's thin arm, which had never lifted anything heavier than a paintbrush, was unthinkable. Grandpa Moto and Taya gave their thanks for saving them, but Mokuba, whether the attitude of his older brother was strongly in play, bared hostility. Pegasus, why are you here? I'm sure that brother didn't invite you. I don't have an invitation card, but I sure do have the rights. It was my understanding that it was an anti-rule duel. Yes, but only the card I developed was Shining Dragon. The other card was not something that I made. There might be some kind of dark powers at play here. This duel is a game of darkness. We have to stop this immediately. So it was just as I had feared. But how can we stop this? Our voices don't even reach to inside of that pyramid. I don't possess the answer to that either. Brother. Taya thought, Yugi, Maybe the one inside the pyramid dueling is the other personality within Yugi, the dark Yugi that Yugi calls his other self. Taya had known Yugi had two personalities. At first, she was bewildered when she found it out. The one that Taya held feelings for more than a friend was the other personality, the Dark Yugi, who wins his duels with sharp wit and profound understanding. However, she realized one day that the reason why Yugi, the original personality, had seemingly such a weak character is because of the kindness within his heart. And she also knew that a blazing friendship that won't succumb to the other Yugi is burning in the inner recesses of her heart. Right now, either of the two Yugis meant something essential to Taya. Yugi, are you in the mind labyrinth while this game of darkness is going on? Taya's heart may have reached Yugi's heart. Yugi and the others showed up in the eyes of Taya's heart through the red eye. Yugi, while the other Yugi is fighting, you're also fighting in the labyrinth, aren't you? Taya had gained a fix on where Yugi was with the power of her heart, and she had also found out what she had to do at the same time. These friends, Yugi, Taya, Joey, and Tristan, are connected together through their hearts. I know, Pegasus, what we must do to rescue Yugi. Really? Yes, I do. Our circle of friendship, and what first taught us that best of all was your duel with Yugi, Pegasus. Pegasus stared at the light filling up Taya's mysteriously deep-colored eyes. That is where a heart that believes in words of trust, friendship, and truth, which had been lost so long ago, resided. At the same time, Pegasus felt the inclusion of a pure, yet dangerous intent right there. Inside the mind labyrinth, no sooner as the legs of Yugi, who was headed towards the altar room, suddenly stopped than he had fell straight to the ground. Joey and Tristan, who were ahead of him, noticed something strange and turned around. What's wrong, Yug? I don't know, but all of a sudden my strength just left my body. Tristan quickly detected the glow of life force streaming near the ceiling. Look, it's the same glow from before, and there's a lot of it. I'm connected with my physical body dueling in the surface world. If my physical body gets damaged, I'll also weaken. My other self probably only has a few life points left. You have to take me to that room, quick. What should we do? Joey and Tristan said, looked at each other and exchanged looks, but the two realized the only way to do what Yugi said. Hey, hang in there! The two lend Yugi their shoulders and help him to his feet. The warriors should be searching for me after coming out of that hall, so they might not be in that room anymore. We'll have to brave the risks and solve the secrets that are in that room. Joey and Honda believed in what Yugi said and returned to the Grand Hall. The three scout out the Grand Hall. The altar could be seen behind the array of sarcophaguses at the impasse of the stone-paved passageway. A stone object, similar to the Pyramid of Light, sat atop the altar. A ruby was set in the object, shaping a red eye. Just as Yugi had said, the place was absolutely quiet, and the mummy warriors were not to be found. Yugi confirmed the direction of the glow of life force was taking. The blue flow of life force was being sucked into the red eye. Over there! My other self's life force is being sucked into that altar. Do you mean that's the source of these dark powers? All right, then in that case, all we have to do is destroy that thing. It was when Joey shouted in a brisk voice that the mummy warriors once again appear all around, from the columns and broken stone walls with their weapons in hand. No good! There's too many mummies! The mummy warriors carried on lurdily with their ancient chant. Another person's thick voice rang from inside the altar out of the deep-bassed bellowing. Defilers of the sacred chamber of the sarcophagus, may you all become sacrifices to the ritual. Huh? They said as they stared at the direction of the voice. The voice came from the altar that supplied the mummy's sarcophagus beneath the pyramid's monument. That's the same voice I heard in the Domino City Museum. When both light and dark collide, the King of Destruction will be reborn, with light being fulfilled and by consuming the King of Light. The voice echoed again from the altar. Let ruin fall upon you, Pharaoh of Darkness. The King of Darkness will be called upon together with the ultimate light. This world will be filled with a light of destruction. My other self will never lose. This King of Destruction won't be called upon, Yugi exclaimed towards the invincible speaker. Ha ha ha. The duel is a ritual involving the pharaohs of light and dark in order to resurrect the King of Destruction. You'll never be able to stop this ritual. The King of Destruction shall lay waste to the darkness and reduce it to rubbish. What? Vessel of the Pharaoh, thou art nothing more than dust in the divine presence of the light. You too shall be destined to disappear along with the Pharaoh of Darkness. I'm not the nameless Pharaoh's vessel. I'm my other self's friend. Yugi's voice wobbled with anger. Yugi brushed Tristan and Joey's hand aside and began to walk down the track of the stone pavement. Yugi, there's a swarm of mummies over there. We have to do something, Joey. What's wrong? What do you plan on starting, Yugs? The life force being sucked into the pyramid on the altar, but the owner of that voice has yet to show himself, right? What if he's not completely resurrected yet? If we destroy that pyramid before that owner of the voice is revived, it may prevent the resurrection. All right, then we'll help too, right, Joey? Got that right, Tristan. We're more used to fighting than you guys, after all. No, Joey and Tristan, get back to that place we were before. Remember, that red eye is floating in that swirling galactic body. You could see the duel ring through that red eye, so that red eye is probably connected with the surface world. I think you can escape from there. What are you talking about, Yug? Joey, this has to do with my other self's past. I can't let all of you guys get involved in this. Stop messing around, Yugi. We're not total strangers to one another, are we? Joey, what you can see yet have never seen, it's the puzzle. But I told you that's not all. That it's the ties of our friendship too. That's right. That's absolutely right. Tristan also called out. But, I'm not going to drag my friends into this. Yugi tried to further keep back Joey and Tristan and go by himself. Taya was staring at the red eye on the Pyramid of Light from the helicopter hovering in the sky above the Pyramid of Light. Yugi, Joey, and Tristan showed up in Taya's eyes. Taya looks at Pegasus right next to her. Please, bring the helicopter as close as you can to that red eye. That's dangerous, Taya girl. What are your eyes seeing? Please, hurry. This Japanese girl is seeing something that we can't understand. Perhaps this girl understands the world of the occult, which seems unbelievable to us. Pegasus gambled on Taya's intuition. Do what Taya girl says. Ordered by Pegasus, the pilot moved the controls. The helicopter slowly moves closer to the swirl of light. The fuselage begins to rumble violently due to the effects of the swirling red air. Taya looked at the red eye with a languishing look on her face, and Grandpa Modu felt uneasy. Taya! When he called out, it was too late. Taya uttered a cry and flung her body toward the red eye. Taya's body unsteadily floated in the swirl of red air, wrapped in plasma. Let my heart reach them. Grains of light surged from Taya's body. They were shot from Taya's heart. Particles of light emitting a warm golden glow, different to that of the blue life force, poured into the mummy's grand hall. Yugi! Yugi, Joey, and Tristan were all surprised when they looked in the direction of the voice. The light that poured in a corner of the sky gathered together and formed the shape of a person. The three knew right away that the golden shadow shining dimly was Taya. Taya, what are you doing here? Joey, Tristan, Yugi, do you remember the circle of friendship us four made? The circle of friendship is a circular mark drawn on the back of Yugi, Joey, Tristan, and Taya's hands, joined together, a symbol of friendship that shows the ties to their hearts. At one time, it was this circle of friendship that saved them from the game of darkness against Pegasus. At that time, Pegasus, the carrier of the Millennium Eye, could read any card Yugi had. When Yugi was in a real fix, Taya, Joey, and Tristan had formed a human wall in front of the Millennium Eye and shielded his cards from being seen through. The circle of friendship was bestowed powers to break down the walls of both the worlds created by the game of darkness and the mortal world. When Taya said, "I've learned a way to save Yugi," that was what she meant. Taya quickly held out the back of her hand towards everyone. Her part of the circle of friendship pops up with a flash on the back of her hand. Sure, how could we forget? Tristan set up his hand. We're all connected together with invisible ties. Joey stuck out the back of his hand. Everyone. Yugi also set up his hand. The four set up their hands and the circle of friendship mark popped up with a flash. That's right, Yugi. We're always connected with our ties of friendship. I'm sure that with the power of our ties, we can smash these dark powers. What you can see yet have never seen. Right now, we can see it clearly. Our circle of friendship. Our power of friendship. In the red eye, wrapped in plasma, Taya's shoulders teeter-totter and strain. This pyramid card isn't something Pegasus created. Only Taya's voice sounded through the duel ring in the Pyramid of Light. Someone is using Kaiba and carrying out this game of darkness. Dark Yugi, face down in the ring, checks Kaiba's appearance. Ugh. Kaiba grumbles, scowling at space. In the mummy's grand hall, the four could be seen creating their circle of friendship. Taya began to be wrapped in light and shine golden. Please hurry, Yugi. I know the one controlling this game of darkness is in this room, and that one person has another Millennium Puzzle, the Pyramid of Light. If that red eye remains unbroken, this game of darkness will never end. From times of old, it's said that the role of shaman who link together gods with humans is a woman's job. Women who create and nurture life may be born with the power to oppose against any evil which tries to eliminate life. Taya, glowing golden, gradually fades away. In the mortal world, something strange happened to Taya, captured in the red eye. Ah! Violent plasma arises in the red eye, flicking out Taya's body and dropping it onto the field. A whirlwind had swept the dome, which made the helicopter make a crash landing. Taya! Grandpa Moto and Mokuba jump out the door in a mad rush. Pegasus descends from behind with one of his men pushing his wheelchair. Around the same time, in the mummy's grand hall, Yugi, Tristan, Joey, all which still remain, are all fired up after receiving courage from Taya. So it's just as I thought. We have to do something about the pyramid on the altar. Let's go. We'll battle for our very lives. All right. The three glance sharply at the altar where the Pyramid of Light is at and break into a sprint. The three ran, pushing through the countless horde of mummy warriors. My servants, bury those three in a world of darkness. The voice of the ruler of the game of darkness had sounded from the altar. Chapter 5, Anubis, King of Destruction. While unconscious, Yugi, fallen face down in the ring, has wandered about a dark zone and traveled back through time and space. When he came to, he was standing in a somehow familiar-looking stone building. Scanning the stone passageway, rubuscently illuminated by flame, he heard a voice coming from somewhere. Please forgive me, Lord Akhenaten. Dark Yugi rushed over to the small window bore into a stone wall. He peers into the room from the small window, which is about 30 centimeters aside. There was open space enclosed by stone walls, as he expected. In the middle, a muscular, half-naked man lies on a bed with his limbs bound, and several men, their entire bodies covered with cloaks, encircle him. The tall man, his body wrapped in the clothes of a priest, who might be referred to as Akhenaten, was staring at a short distance away. Dark Yugi unconsciously tried to raise his voice. The skinny man wearing a hood over his head sported a beard on his chin and the Millennium Eye inserted into his eye. The half-nude man on the bed pleads with Akhenaten again. I will swear my loyalty to you from now on. Lord Akhenaten, please don't do this to me. Akhenaten speaks heavily. A body like yours with a strong sense of loyalty is needed for this role. But even with your sense of loyalty, the task shall be so difficult that it may or may not be achievable. What are you going to do to me? While King Akhemakhma and I are brothers, the chances are that I will never assume the throne in my lifetime, and that is the reason why I will go through any means to try to make my son, Seto, king. If by any chance my wish goes unanswered in this life, I would like that, thousands of years in the future, Seto's reincarnation becomes king. Akhenaten retrieves a pyramid made of crystal inside of a golden case. It was the Pyramid of Light. Using the power of the 8th millennium I had made in secret, the Pyramid of Light. That is too far of a task for a mere servant to the priest like myself. There's no possible way I can stay alive for thousands of years. That is why I am going to apply a technique. You will become a mummy and will be able to keep alive thousands of years into the future from now on. And if my ambition comes to an end, you will carry on my will and accomplish the deed. Please, no! I don't want to linger on in life by turning into some mummy. It has already been decided. The half-nude man attempted to loosen his bonds with the might of all the muscles in his body, but he couldn't break his body, bound to the bed, free. The man's strong sense of loyalty gave birth to all the more strong rage and resent by being betrayed by his master. Why you? If you do something like that, Akhenaten, I will hold a grudge against you. You better think of the reincarnation of your son Seto never becoming king. So, your true colors have shown after all, have they? It's true that as long as people are people, accomplishing a mission to overcome a crisis is difficult. But from now on, you will not be a person. What? You will become a mummy as a messenger of the gods. The heart, eyes, and brain of a jackal messenger of the god. Anubis will be transplanted into your body that will live after all of this. You'll be a jackal with a heart loyal to me. You will no longer be a human, having been given that body. In ancient Egypt, Anubis was a god with the head of a jackal. It is said that he governs over the making of mummies, accompanies the dead in the next world, and maintains these things. At the time, in ancient Egypt, jackals were tamed as man's friend, and because of their prowess, were revered to as gods. Ah, stop it, please! The cloak-shaped disciples of the priest carried in the bisque jar that contains the heart, eyes, and brains of a jackal. One of the disciples held the knife for the surgery, which carried a cold gleam. The task said to be the secret art among secret arts, even amongst the 5,000 years worth of different Egyptian skills, to turn man and jackal into one, to make a god, and also to make a mummy. Should I let this grudge go unsettled? Yeah! The man's head cut off his final words with his death cry. Yugioh, who had been watching from the small window, turned his eyes away from the overly gruesome scene. That was when he heard a voice from somewhere. I end my turn. Dark Yugioh felt the thick fog clearing up, and the vicinity being wrapped in light. Was what he saw up until now a dream? He was still inside the Pyramid of Light. When Kaiba made his declaration, Dark Yugioh, immobile, looked down at the smoke rising from his entire body. Don't even wait on your next turn. You lose by being unable to battle, unless you continue the duel, that is. The fallen Yugioh heard what Kaiba said while semi-conscious. His voice almost seemed to be coming from far away, beyond the sky. Teia's words were piled on top of Kaiba's words. Listen, stop the duel right now. This is a game of darkness. The image of Yugioh, Joey, and Tristan frantically fighting against the mummy warrior showed up behind Dark Yugioh's closed eyelids. Everyone, I understand. Everyone is helping me out. I will not lose, for my partner, who has faith in me, for my friends, and for the promise I made with Mokuba. Dark Yugioh steadily rises to his feet. I told you, Kaiba, that I won't give up until the very last card. How unsightly, Yugioh. Your life points are already down to 200. Even if I only have one life point, I will never toss the fight. I've never been so ashamed of myself, for recognizing the likes of you as a rival of any kind, that is. Kaiba stared at the fallen idol, his eyes opened wide. I feel like I'm seething with rage. I end my turn. Kaiba's manner of speaking was different from how it usually was. Normally, Kaiba would praise Yugioh, who never gives up until the very end, but never demean him. Kaiba's heart as a duelist may have already fallen victim to someone. It's my turn. Draw. Dark Yugioh, drained of his life force, had come to his limits. Drawing his card with a shaky finger, he summoned Big Shield Gardna and ended his turn. In his next turn, Kaiba had drawn the card Return from the Different Dimension. It's here. It's here at last. The time has come to stand at the apex of duel monsters by subduing his gods with this card. He raises his eyes up from the card to have Yugioh gaze. The man worthy of standing on the apex of all duelists in the world already looked like a losing dog drained of his vitality. He thought that dragging down his unsightly form as soon as possible and standing as the Duel King himself would be his tribute to Yugioh. I set a reverse card. Our duel is finished. Kaiba places Return from the Different Dimension in face-down position. My victory is perfect. You lose. Let's battle. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Disperse that eyesore of a barrier monster. Shining Burst. Blue Eyes Shining Dragon's attack power was 4,500, while Big Shield Gardna's defense was 2,600. The beam of destruction fired by the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon crushed the Gardna into tiny little pieces. When the smoke cleared from the explosion, Kaiba stood under Shining Dragon's majestic light, his arms folded as though he was reigning as king. You're saved, Yugioh, but how long are you going to keep running away with your defense monsters? Your resistance is futile. Dark Yugioh continued the duel. He drew Watapon and Trifler Elf Swordsman through the effect of Pot of Greed. He special summoned Watapon through its monster effect, and then summoned Trifler Elf Swordsman to end his turn. It's hard to believe in victory with both his deck and life points running on low. Dark Yugioh stood firmly on the ring with his iron will alone. You imbecile. Huh, line up all your small fry monsters all you like, Yugioh. Your next turn will be your last. Right when Kaiba drew his spear dragon, he personally had cut it up right down the middle with a guillotine. The hand-strengthening card I used, Treasure Cards of Life Whittling, is a card that sends your entire hand to the grave after 5 turns. But what I just sent to the cemetery was Spear Dragon. What? Another dragon-type card to the cemetery? That's right, Yugi. You may have figured out by now, but you're entirely too late. Another dragon type being in the grave means that Blue Eye Shining Dragon's attack power increases by another 300 points, and Blue Eye Shining Dragon's final special ability is activated. What? You mean on top of this, it's still hiding a special ability? Despite Kaiba winning overwhelmingly, his tone was indifferent. My overwhelming victory. There was a struggle in Kaiba while he muttered inside his mind. That will prove that Seto Kaiba is the dual king. There is no possible way that Pyramid of Light is a dark card from Dark Powers. With his victory in his sights, what Yugi said was brought back up, and that there is someone taking advantage of me, let alone being able to believe in the powers of darkness. There's no way these powers of darkness exist in this world. Yes, I've already obtained the victory in my hands. Kaiba yells out as if to snap himself out of the doubt of his mind. Shining Nova! The Blue Eye Shining Dragon rises to the sky and emits radiance like a supernova. Blue Eye Shining Dragon's final ability, Shining Nova. It's an ability of absolute destruction which allows it to destroy any card by using itself as a sacrifice. That was when a voice sounded in Kaiba's mind. That's right, Seto Kaiba. Fight. By defeating the Pharaoh of Darkness, all of thy wishes will be granted. Who's speaking to me? What kind of trick is this? It's no trick, Seto Kaiba. You're the man who is supposed to be the Pharaoh of Light. During King Akhenaten's reign, Akhenaten the Wise, brothers of the king, deciphered the Millennium Tome of Sorcery and created 7 treasures through dark alchemy. Those were the Millennium items, including the Millennium Puzzle. What? That is when Akhenaten, filled with ambitions for his own son, Seto, to take over the throne, created an 8th treasure and entrusted it to me. I was given the Pyramid of Light, counterpart to the Millennium item, the Millennium Puzzle, turned into a mummy while alive and stored in a sarcophagus. Shut up! What are you talking about? What does that have to do with me? I was under a spell in order to awaken and assist me when Seto's reincarnation cropped up in this world. Even after Akhenaten's death, his sentiments were inherited, and left only the sentiments towards making the successor of Seto's soul the King of Light one day. I continued to search for the possessor of Seto's soul, carrying the will of Akhenaten, and I found him at last. That would be you, Seto Kaiba. Ridiculous. Are you trying to say that I'm the reincarnation of an ancient Egyptian? Precisely. And the man before you is the nameless Pharaoh. Now, defeat the Pharaoh of Darkness. Defeat him to become the King of Light. All you have to do is say, I will become king in your mind. Shut up! Kaiba unintentionally yelled in anger to erase the voice in his mind. I won't have any part of these ridiculous occult tales, and that goes the same for me having been controlled by the powers of darkness too. Although his victory was being guided by dark forces, and he was a short time away from his victory, the ludicrousness of himself, spellbound, had motivated the man with high self-esteem. Yugi, I'm going to end this petty duel right here. Pyramid of Light, be gone. The card that will be destroyed by Shining Nova is the Pyramid of Light. Kaiba picked up the Pyramid of Light card, and he personally had it cut up right down the middle. He managed to keep in control? Was Kaiba able to change his mortal future himself? Yugi had hoped on this. However, there was no change in the walls of light surrounding the ring. The Pyramid of Light card, which should have been cut in 2, remained intact in the ring. Why isn't the Pyramid of Light destroyed? And after I went through all that trouble to make you the King of Light, you were just a weak little brat after all, weren't you? A voice resonated in the pyramid that was neither Kaiba nor Dark Yugi. What in the hell are you talking about? Who are you? My name is Anubis. Upon hearing the name, Dark Yugi grew wide-eyed. Had that ancient ritual he had looked into in his unconscious world really happened once in the past? Could the man who was treated with those secret arts really have been revived thousands of years in the future? I never wanted to make you the King of Light from the very start. I made up my mind when Akhenaten betrayed me that I would use my allotted fate for my own ambitions. Dark Yugi remembered the words of malice that the man on the bed spewed. For thousands of years, he continued to sleep, harboring his grudge. After the Pharaoh of Light had defeated the Pharaoh of Darkness, I wanted to gorge on Seto in order to become the Pharaoh of Destruction by destroying the Pharaoh of Light myself. The King of Destruction was, in a word, Anubis himself. The voice settles, lightning emits from the top of the pyramid of light and wraps around Kaiba. Dark Yugi was worried that the premonition would come true. Dark Yugi had not yet been beaten, but he had fallen flat on his face like in the vision. He hadn't lost, but the premonition might become a reality. Kaiba, leave the ring. It's dangerous if you stay there. What? Kaiba didn't have the time to really understand the meaning of what Yugi was saying. When the light settled, an ancient Egyptian man wrapped in an armor of rugged muscles suddenly appeared behind Kaiba, his set of glowing eyes on his chiseled face, which was concealed in his long hair, were as black as a beast's. It was the very same man who had the eyes of a jackal grafted in him. "Behind you!" Dark Yugi calls out. But Anubis took hold of Kaiba's head sooner than Kaiba turned around and lifted him up with a jerk with his burly right arm like a bat. "Ha!" The blue blood of dueling cast his self-esteem and screamed aloud. Anubis grips Kaiba's head, swings him about, and sends him flying with emphasis. Kaiba's body took a mighty bounce in the ring once and rolled on the artificial grass. Kaiba! Embedded in Anubis's chest is the right side up crystal millennium puzzle, the 8th millennium item, the Pyramid of Light. Didn't you take on a mission from Akhenaten to make the possessor of his son Seto's soul? Dark Yugi approached the mysterious man. I no longer have that sense of loyalty with my grudge towards Akhenaten. In order to beat you up until now, I've been using him. However, I no longer have any use for a good-for-nothing that recognizes a game of darkness and willingly throws away a duel. Anubis's black eyes glittered. I've wanted to see you, Pharaoh of Darkness. So it was you that was behind this duel, was it? I shall bury you with my own hands. Due to Akhenaten, I had the heart of a jackal embedded into me while I was still alive, mummified, and placed in a sarcophagus. Who would entomb someone while they are still alive for the fun of it? The nameless pharaoh, Akhenaten, his son Seto, and a bid for power are the cause of all of this. I shall now settle my long-standing grudge. When everything is over, you, along with your vessel, will be sealed in the darkness. A vessel? My partner? Yugi, what have you done to him? He should be getting sent to his doom in the Mind Labyrinth. Partner. Dark Yugi stared down with grave thoughts. He lifted his head back up in a rage unlike any before showed on his face. With his hair bristling with anger, he opens his eyes wide enough to split the edges. This has nothing to do with my ties to the past. I'm fighting for my partner and my rival. You're the last person I'd ever forgive after laying harm on the precious souls of these two duelists. The Duel of Darkness started once again. Taking over for Kaiba, Anubis' life points are at 2100 and he has no hand. Dark Yugi's life points are 200 and has one card in his hand and only has 2 cards left in his deck. Dark Yugi's overwhelming disadvantage was directly passed over from his duel with Kaiba. The Pharaoh of Darkness shall be judged under the Pyramid of Light. This duel will be a sacred ritual, and this ritual cannot be stopped. Anubis sticks out his hand and 2 cards appear before him with a shine. When the Pyramid of Light is activated, my sacred beasts of judgment are summoned through their secret heretic text. A chant from the ancient text of the priests rang throughout the dome, just like in the Mind Labyrinth. Come forth, Androsphinx, Sphinx Telia. Roaring violently, Androsphinx with the face of a lion and a male body, and Sphinx Telia with the face of a lion and a female body appeared in the ring. Androsphinx and Sphinx Telia bore their fangs at Dark Yugi, who had drawn a card and set reverse of reverse. Shh. Dark Yugi promptly tried to ward off the attacks and dropping in the ring, but the two beasts didn't appear to be coming towards him in an assault. As soon as Dark Yugi dubiously took a look up, Wadapon and Trifler Elf Swordsman were protecting him, acting as a barrier and blocking the way. Trifler Elf Swordsman is a monster that cannot be destroyed by battle with an attack power of 1900 or higher. That is why, while they are sacred beasts, they are not able to attack. So I see. It may be a game of darkness, but it seems that it's firmly being subject to dueling rules. Since that's the way the ritual is supposed to be, that isn't anything surprising, though. Then I'll abide by the control of the rules. I make a dead man of you. Anubis stretches out his hand, making a face-down card appear. Sphinx Telia, bury that inferior with wisdom. Inquiry of trials. Telia, who had a kind female face, brought out her sharp claws and mowed the Trifler Elf Swordsman down. The elf sword was clawed by its sharp claws, sending it flying into the sky and making it vanish. Shh, a monster effect. Androsphinx, Roar of the Sphinx. Androsphinx loudly spread its jaws, baring its fangs, and let out a tremendous roar. The roar turns into shockwaves and assaults Wadapon. Wada! Wadapon shrieked and was crushed to small pieces. Androsphinx inflicts damage equal to the attack power of the destroyed monster. The shockwave swept over Dark Yugi as well. Dark Yugi sinks to his knees. Dark Yugi's life points, which were at a mere 200, were reduced by another 100. So, Pharaoh of Darkness, you survived. It seems you barely have any life points left. Dark Yugi stood on unsteady legs, but the look on his face appeared pale. At any case, I'll deliver the light's judgment on you next turn. Dark Yugi took a look at the duel disc on his arm. He was letting his entire fate ride on single card left in the deck. This is the very last card. Dark Yugi pensively looked up and stared at Anubis, standing face to face with him, and the triumphant look on his face. It's my turn. I'll draw my last card. The last card that Yugi drew was Double Magic. The only two cards I have in my hand right now are Double Magic and Exchange. No monsters were on his field, and he only has 2 magic cards in his hand. A game-saving counterstrike doesn't seem likely for Dark Yugi, but the fight is not diminished from his eyes. He understood that it seems that he doesn't remember the cause of this tragedy that has transcended time and space, but himself as the nameless pharaoh is very much related in all of it. Anubis, who had waited thousands of years in isolation harboring his grudge, and me, who spent time in my mind room harboring isolation, are alike. But that decisive difference is that I have a partner who calls me his friend. Dark Yugi looks at Anubis sharply. I will never give up. I'm going to win to protect my friends. Around the same time, within the Mind Labyrinth in the Mummy's Grand Hall, the other Yugi had fallen into danger. His friends, Joey and Tristan, fight to protect the inferior Yugi, picking up clubs that had dropped from swinging mummies. The dried mummies break into tiny pieces, but outclassed and outnumbered, they run out of options when the mummies lash onto them. Get the hell off of me, Tristan yells. Gross! Joey was at his wit's end. Honda, Joey! Yugi stopped in his tracks and looked back. Yug, we're fine! Hurry! Get to the Pyramid of Light! Joey shouted while lugging a number of mummies around. Okay. Yugi, making use of his small body and agile movements, gets closer to the sarcophagus by passing through one mummy to the other. Keep it up. Don't give up, other me. Although the mummies proved to be a nuisance, he frantically reached the sarcophagus. The mummy was no longer inside the sarcophagus. Having finished reviving, it had been reborn in the real world. However, Yugi sees the monument shaped similarly to the right side up pyramid, the Pyramid of Light. The battle in the duel ring in the real world could be seen through the ruby that was set in it. The ruby and the ruby of the Pyramid of Lights that's in the real world are connected. I'm sure of it. If this gets destroyed, it might have an effect on the crystal Pyramid of Light in the real world too. Yugi picked up a dagger lying nearby. Darn you. As soon as Yugi screamed, he drove the dagger he picked up on the ruby. Psh! The ruby inside the monument falls to tiny pieces. We did it, other self. A change occurred in the duel ring in the Pyramid of Light virtually simultaneously. The ruby in the Pyramid of Light embedded in Anubis' chest emitted plasma with a crackle. Urgh. Anubis hissed. A purple tip released from the pyramid reached the Pyramid of Light card. The glow of the gigantic Pyramid of Light slowly grows dimmer. Dark Yugi had a feeling as if someone was whispering to him in his mind. What's this? It feels like the pyramid's glow has weakened. The atmosphere surrounding the game of darkness is weak. Could it be that my partner who disappeared into the Mind Labyrinth made some sort of attack on the dark forces? That's it. So you did it, partner. Dark Yugi thought of the actions of his other self. He felt the sentiments of his friends, put in a panic, and an attempt to help him out even in the slightest. In order to save his friends, he can do nothing but win the duel. Win. I must win. I activate Double Magic. It discards one spell card in my hand to select one card from my opponent's grave and use it as my own. The exchange in his hand disappears, and Monster Reborn flies. Dark Yugi firmly took the resurrection of the dead. Spell card, Monster Reborn. Lend me your support. Kaiba, come forth. Blue Eyes, Shining Dragon. Whoosh. The Blue Eyes Shining Dragon revives, clad in a refreshing blue shine. Anubis picked up on an adverse change in dark powers. What happened to the Pyramid of Light? What are you doing? Pharaoh. Shining Nova. Behold, the Pyramid of Light has lost its light. Anubis was shocked and confused. That cannot be. The Pyramid of Light on the field freezes and loses its light. A tremendous radiance gushes forth from the shining dragon, which had turned into a shining sphere towards the Pyramid of Light. The two sphinxes also start to suffer as the power of the Pyramid of Light eases up. What? Androsphinx! Sphinx Telia! The shining dragon's radiance reached Androsphinx and Sphinx Telia. The two sphinxes turn into grains of light and disappear as they let out the cries of their demise. Grandpa Moto, Taya, Mokuba, and Pegasus, watching from the field outside the Pyramid of Light, realized a change as well. Lightning surged out from all around the pyramid's walls. A fissure ran from the top of the pyramid towards the bottom, and the walls of light flew all over the place in pieces like fragile glassware. The giant pyramid crumbled away loudly as a shadow of light. The showering pieces of the pyramid turned into light before reaching the ground and faded away. Along with that, the shining dragon also concealed itself in order to complete its task. Now your pyramid of light has collapsed. Joey and Tristan suddenly emerge out of open space and rolled onto the field so that they overlap one another. Grandpa Moto, Taya, Mokuba, and Pegasus were right next to them. Anubis stands still, dumbfounded, at the incident that went beyond his own imagination. Damn you, Pharaoh of Darkness. How could you have this much strength? Dark Yugi pensively faced Anubis. My partner, my friends, they performed a miracle. However, this is the end. There is no longer a thing that you can do now that you've lost all your monsters. Come forth, Sphinx Androgynous. As soon as the card on the field flipped face up, the silhouettes of Androsphinx and Sphinx Telia, who should be gone, rose to the surface and overlapped each other into one. The even larger Sphinx, Sphinx Androgynous, whose upper half was the body of a man with the face of a lion, and the lower half was of a lion, showed its eerie self. All monsters resting in the cemetery, bestow your power for Sphinx Androgynous. The monsters that had been reduced to ghosts, turning into a fierce mainstream, stream into Sphinx Androgynous from the cemetery. Its attack power increases to 3,500. The fur all over Sphinx Androgynous's body stands on end. Hau! Anubis had called upon a storm with his cry. Be gone, Pharaoh of Darkness! My mightiest servant, Sphinx Androgynous, is the head of all monsters which serve under the gods. You will bow before my divine monster. Those who lose all of their monsters are called losers by others. Heh, I wonder about that. Anubis looked perplexed at Dark Yugi's reaction. There's a card placed face down on my field, and one on your field that Kaiba left behind. And if my hunch is correct, he probably placed a card face down to control the three gods. Dark Yugi cried out with conviction. I activate Reverse of Reverse. It can only be activated when there are no cards in my hand and no cards on my field except this one. I can activate an opponent's trap card as my own, and that card is returned from the different dimension. The card on Kaiba's field stood up and revealed itself to be Return from the different dimension. Gods, descend forth! A distortion is caused in empty space. Energy gushes out in grains of light. The light swirled around to form a white hole. Three giant silhouettes appear inside the vortex of light. Obelisk, Slifer, and the winged dragon of Ra. The three Egyptian gods showed their ferocious selves out of the dimensional white hole-like vortex of light. What? Let the wrath of God be realized. Hyper-God energy! As Obelisk spread both of its arms, and Slifer the Sky Dragon winds around them from the left arm to the right, the winged dragon of Ra made its descent with Obelisk holding up its arm to usher it. Slifer grabs onto Ra, transformed into his sphere mode, firmly. When the ground in the front and back of Anubis suddenly cracked, lava spewed out and engulfed Sphinx Androgynous. Anubis, having lost everything, didn't have any place to run. Obelisk stuck out its chest widely and then spread both of its arms as far as it could. Ultimate mighty blow! Infinity God impact! Obelisk winded up hot air and thrusted both of its robust arms ahead of itself. Slifer and Ra are shot out like bullets. The speeding Slifer turns into a red beam, while Ra, in flames, transforms into Phoenix mode. The red and yellow flames speeding along form a spiral whirl that rushes into Anubis. The gods had launched a direct attack on Anubis. Anubis's life points become 0. The right side up pyramid, counterpart to the Millennium Puzzle, the Pyramid of Light. was broken into tiny fragments, but the red eye darts out unbroken and rolled onto the field. Now that Dark Yugi had won, the duel was over. Before he even knew it, Yugi had risen himself to the surface besides Dark Yugi. Other self. Partner. The two look and nod at one another. When their two silhouettes lapped over each other into one, Dark Yugi's stern face turned into Yugi's gentle one. Yugi had approached Kaiba, collapsed on the field. Kaiba-kun, are you okay? Yugi. Yugi offered his hand. Shh, I don't need your help. Kaiba stood up on his own without Yugi's help, as it was the last bit of pride he had left. It was then that Joey, Tristan, Grandpa, Taya, and Mokuba were all on the field together. Yug! Joey cried out, spotting Yugi. So you're back too, aren't you, Yugi? Tristan stared with teary eyes. I am, Joey and Tristan. Thank you. Yugi! Grandpa Moto comes running, flogging his old body. Thank goodness, I'm so glad everyone is safe, Taya murmured, full of emotions. Brother! Mokuba ran over to Kaiba. Kaiba had turned his head and tried to move his lips, but a hand jutted from the bottom of the ground and seized the ruby laid on the ground. What had grabbed the ruby and menacingly rose from the depths of the earth was Anubis, who had turned into an enormous monster. In the form of the god his name implies, Anubis stared down at everyone with the face of a jackal. The faces of everyone who were standing still in amazement were reflected in his beast-specific eyes. The game of darkness was supposed to be over already, Yugi exclaimed. That's impossible. This is the real world, Kaiba too exclaimed. The voice of Anubis, having turned into a monster, rang throughout the dome. I will never give up. Not until I take the two pharaohs, light and dark, with me to the world of darkness. Anubis opened his shut eyelids sharply, and his beastly eyes, which were black, were shining crimson. His resentful crimson vigor was flowing in swirls. The beating of his giant jackal heart rang throughout the dome. While the ground on the field cracked, Anubis revealed his giant body, which falls short of reaching the ceiling. Unbelievable, Pegasus exclaimed. Run for the time being, Grandpa voices to everyone. Everyone tried to escape, but the monster transformed Anubis waved his powerful arm, and the support braces crumble and come caving in. You won't escape, King of Darkness! The fleeing Yugi stopped in his tracks and looked back. He's after me! I'll go! All of you run away! Yugi bolts off towards Anubis. No, stop, Yugi! Not even Taya's words could reach Yugi. Anubis, over here! Yugi ran to induce Anubis. King of Darkness! The giant Anubis gives rapid chase to Yugi. That's it, over here, over here! Yugi was managing to lead himself away from everyone, but he slipped and rolled on the grass. Yugi, fallen on the ground, looked upwards, taken aback. You won't escape! Anubis extends his giant arm with a cry in an attempt to grab Yugi. Watch out! Joey ran over to Yugi and took Yugi in his arms and rolled across the ground. Joey! He's still coming, Yug! Above two, lying on the ground, Anubis's gigantic foot drew near. In an attempt to crush Yugi and Joey, who were rolling themselves away, Anubis repeatedly stomped on his foot. Yugi and Joey finally found a place to hide in the shadows of the rubble. However, faced with the giant jackal fangs approaching them, they were in a tough predicament. Kaiba happens to look, and the Blue-Eye Shining Dragon card slips into his gaze. The Blue-Eye Shining Dragon card looked as if it were gleaming. Yugi, take it. Kaiba picked up the Blue Eyes White Dragon card and threw it to Yugi like a shuriken. Yugi took the card. Kaiba stares at Yugi. I've left everything on you. Yugi, feeling Kaiba's will, firmly nodded back. Leave this to me. Stand back, Joey. Yugi popped from the shadows of the rubble, distancing himself from Joey, and walked towards the giant transformed Anubis monster. Have you said your prayers, King of Darkness? Yugi, replenishing his courage, staring the Anubis monster down, held up the card. Only Yugi knew that Dark Yugi was right beside him, and Dark Yugi had put his hand on the hand he was holding the Blue-Eye Shining Dragon with. We'll do this together, right? Right. We're all together whenever you need us. Courage came about Yugi's heart 100-fold. You're the one who should say their prayers, King of Destruction. Come forth, Blue Eyes Shining Dragon! A dazzling light arose from the card in Yugi's hand. The light soars into the dome's air above Yugi and Dark Yugi's head. The mass of light, little by little, takes form of the blue-eyed dragon of light, the Blue-Eye Shining Dragon. Farewell, King of Destruction. Now our circle of friendship will stretch into one, and your evil designs will be crushed. Shining Nova! Kaiba and Yugi shouted at the same time. The blue-eyed shining dragon was wrapped in a supernova-like radiance. The radiance of the shining nova reduced the monster transformed Anubis to cinders. The Anubis monster faded away, and the red eye left in the airspace exploded with a thunderous roar. The shining nova also burnt the shining dragon to nothing, and the light faded away. Yugi looked at Kaiba perchance. Kaiba dolefully had his eyelids closed. The after image of disappeared blue-eye shining dragon was burnt into his retinas. Epilogue. It was all over. Yugi, Taya, Joey, Tristan, Grandpa, Kaiba, Mokuba, who had all narrowly escaped destruction, stood side by side. Pegasus came up, his wheelchair pushed by one of his men. The best card I've created has gone up and gone away in flames. The need for me to stay here has just gone away. Pegasus snaps his fingers to signal his man, making the man in black push Pegasus's wheelchair and board the helicopter. The helicopter kicked up a cloud of dust and took off. Silence once again came to the wrecked Kaiba dome, which was Kaiba's dream. What in the world was that thing? Taya asked to no one in specific. It was one of the mysteries of ancient Egypt, and all of it has been sealed along with its darkness. Grandpa was the one to answer. Kaiba pulled away from Mokuba's support to stand on his own and walked over to Yugi himself. Kaiba and Yugi stood face to face at a distance. Kaiba-kun. The powers of darkness. I don't believe in stuff like that. I am going to surpass you, Yugi, on my very own. The road to glory will start from this very moment. A smile formed on Yugi's face, which was staring at Kaiba intently. You're a true duelist after all, Kaiba. Yugi, you're the true duel king once more. However, I will be the one to defeat you. Kaiba turned on his heels and tried to leave the Kaiba dome. Brother! Kaiba suddenly stopped walking and looked back towards Mokuba. Kaiba, who hadn't changed the expression in his face all this time, formed a faint smile on his lips. Mokuba, lend me your shoulder. Mokuba stared at Kaiba's face, startled. Of course, sure thing. Mokuba made haste to lend Kaiba his shoulder. We haven't had the time to really talk for a while, haven't we? Want me to join me? Grab a bite to eat? Gladly, brother. Yugi, thank you. Mokuba whispered in his mind while walking and lending Kaiba his shoulder. You got back my brother's heart just like you promised. I may have said I hate dueling, but you can be sure that I'll begin to like it again. Taya, Joey, Tristan, and Grandpa all gathered around Yugi. I may have done something you could never forgive me for. Grandpa spoke with an unusually serious face. Everyone could have been mixed into a horrible mess because I entrusted the Millennium Puzzle to you. What are you talking about, Grandpa? Yugi looked at his friends. Thanks to the Millennium Puzzle, and thanks to playing Duel Monsters, I was able to make so many friends. Right, everyone? Joey, Tristan, and Taya all nod their heads in affirmation. Joey, Honda, Taya, and... Yugi suddenly turned around and had not noticed that Dark Yugi was standing right behind him. He was the greatest friend that was visible only to Yugi. Isn't that right, other self? Sure is, partner. The two looked at each other's faces and smiled at one another. All right, that was Pyramid of Light, the light novel, fully read and narrated, the unofficial audiobook. My throat is on fire. I had to do this in a couple of different segments, obviously. Listen, again, as I said at the top, I'm not a voice actor. I don't even know why I'm doing this outro. I doubt anybody is still watching, but if you are, thank you. I hope it was entertaining. Again, there was a little bit more detail in this that we didn't get in the movie, like all the backstory of Anubis, although it was very brief, but it was something better than what we got in the movie. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I'm going to, ice my throat, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.